Oh no, I just all right. Just give me a moment before we start. Oh yeah, all right. Perfect. Hi investors, welcome to SYC. Is the screen visible to all? Perfect. Perfect. Hope everyone is doing well. Let's start in another 2 to 3 minutes max. 2-3 minutes ले लेते हैं, सबको join करने देते हैं. And then we'll have the session. तब तक I'll just clear my laptop space ताकि recording में issue ना हो. Just give me a second. How many of you are like SYC tribe members? Like they're in the SYC course? Just in the chat section. So today we have uploaded that financial literacy course का जो first module था, that has gone live today. If you've seen it, तो just let me know अगर देखा हो तो. So first one has gone live. प्रसाद कैसे लगे first lessons? Perfect. Interesting. अभी time value of money and everything I'll just start doing. Just give me a second. I'm just clearing the laptop space ताकि बाद में issue ना हो जब recording हमारी चलती है. Move to the bin. Move to the bin. I'm planning the location for the next SYC time meeting. तो 11 सितंबर को दिल्ली में करते हैं. उसके बाद देखते हैं क्या करना है. I think probably Mumbai after Delhi. Perfect. So Prateek had a very longish question. First, I'll just solve that before I do anything else. All right, now laptop space is also clear, and we can start in another. I think 2:05 we'll start so that everyone can join. Perfect. Prateek had a question. On one hand, we are seeing themes like Make in India, Make for the World in case of companies like RHI, where thesis is the situation in EU will force certain companies to have India as a manufacturing hub. But on the other hand, we are seeing demand itself can soften because of the situation in EU. On one hand, anti-thesis companies exporting to EU will see their revenues getting affected because of the situation over there, but at the same time, manufacturing is becoming difficult. Chances are manufacturing will shift outside EU. So how does one look at this situation? I know it will be company specific, but if you can let us know how you're thinking, how one should look at the companies in the portfolio. So RHI Magnesita के case में Prateek, so they are setting up the manufacturing base in India for geographies in Middle East and Africa. So if you see LinkedIn, so they've hired a head of business for Africa and head of business for Middle Eastern countries, and that is the thesis because India में अगर steel capex देखो तो Tata Steel, JSW इन सबका capex बहुत ज़्यादा है steel में, and this is one of the companies which like India में 20% market share है, globally 35% market share. So a lot of refractories were being imported to India. So ये पूरा import substitution भी कर रहे हैं. They are introducing those products for the first time in India. Secondly, one thing to realize is that RHI is probably the only refractory company that is backwards integrated into magnesia. They have magnesia mines in Turkey. And वो जो बाकी India में companies हैं, बस backward integration to mines नहीं है. So इससे उनका volatility margin देखेंगे काफी ज़्यादा रहता है. And उसके बाद RHI like Orient Refractories used to be the global innovation leader, not only in India but the global innovation leader. These are 3-4 things that are playing out in the favor. But ये यूरोप को एक्सपोर्ट नहीं कर रहे, they are exporting to Middle East, Africa, and they are limited to India. So I think business has like 25-30% type से like potential for top line growth. And one thing to realize Prateek is कि अभी capex 450 crores का कंपनी ने 10 अनाउंस करा है, R&D प्लांट भी लगाया है. So I think Europe is not the main play over here. Yeah, for Timken it could be कि यूरोप में अगर डिमांड सॉफ्टन होती है तो इशू हो सकता है because Timken में नया capex भी अनाउंस नहीं हुआ. That is one thing to look for कि Timken का थोड़ा हो सकता है वैल्यूएशन भी हाई होगा. Timken में 40-50% ग्रोथ आ रही है इस टाइम पे क्योंकि बाकी प्लांट्स की इट इज बट नेचुरल की प्रोडक्शन इंडिया की तरफ मूव कर रही है, इस वजह से 40-50% ग्रोथ आ रही है. तो हाँ, वहाँ हो सकता है कि जो यूरोपियन एक्सपोजर हो थोड़ा इशू हो सकता है. बट यूरोप में भी तो ये हो सकता है कि आप सोचिए कि if European companies are not able to produce, and if something like a pharmaceutical or agrochemical is the basic need of the society, then business will anyway shift to other like geographies because that consumption cannot be postponed. जहाँ पे consumption can be postponed or where it is more elastic. So there is inelastic consumption and elastic consumption. Wherever the consumption is more elastic, there it could be an issue. Wherever the consumption is inelastic, I think there the Indian suppliers will gain market share. And ये manufacturing shift हम ना grounds up दिख तो रही है आपके जैसे आज हमने जैसे अटेंड करा. But yeah, definitely anti-thesis को पास रखना चाहिए. Whenever you see a slowdown, be prepared for it. But I think if you're investing in a theme, stay invested for 3-4 years. जहाँ पे आपको लगता है proxies अच्छे हो सकते हैं. Right. Awesome. Mahesh is joining us from US at 1:30 AM. Awesome. Awesome, guys. So we'll start the session. Yeah, I think Syngene का एक subsidiary launch हुआ है. Someone from Belgium as well. Awesome that you're from Belgium. Right. So we'll start the session as well. And I think another 1 minute. So let's just jump into the session. Otherwise, we keep getting late. Someone's from Holland as well. Someone from UAE. Someone from Japan. Awesome, guys. Like a very diverse crowd. Someone is saying from Greece. Someone is from Sweden. Right. So probably if I wish to travel to Japan next. So probably if I come to Japan, like I'll definitely like come and meet you as well. Yeah, inventory gains and losses will be covered, right? So that we'll cover. But to warn you already, inventory gains and losses का जो concept है थोड़ा tricky हो सकता है, but we'll try to understand how to do it. So hi investors, welcome to SYC. And in this session, we'll learn how to read an income statement, and we'll do a lot of case studies. And not only this, we'll cover a lot of new concepts as well. That is value versus volume gain in sales. Apart from that, we'll talk about these one-time expenses that companies take. We'll calculate each and every ratio along with you how to do it. और यहाँ पर आप कैसे calculate कर सकते हो and how to get the right answers of gross margins, EBITDA margins, and EBIT margins, PAT margins. ये सारी चीजें हम calculate करेंगे. And we'll also look at this phenomenon of inventory gains and inventory losses and how it impacts the margins. And it's a very intuitive concept to understand because in an income statement, you won't find it in a particular line item. But we'll try to understand how we can at least gauge किस company में inventory gain चल रहा है. So that is something that we'll try to understand. And apart from this, throughout the session, we have a lot of questions planned for you. With this, let's start the session. So first thing that we'll start with, what is an income statement, right? So a simple question that we'll start with. So suppose if you have a business and if you want to know what's the profit of the business, right? So what is the simplest of the simplest formula that you will use to find the formula of like the profit of a business? That is simply total revenue minus total expenses. That whatever was my sales, like whatever was my sales slash my like whatever was my sales, I'll just subtract that by expenses, right? Whatever were my expenses, and I'll just get to net profit. तो हिंदी में अगर मैं बताऊं तो जो भी मेरी सेल थी और जो भी मेरा खर्चा था, अगर हम दोनों को माइनस करेंगे तो हम अपने जो हमारा जो प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी है उसकी तरफ आ जाते हैं, या जिसको मुनाफा भी कहते हैं. So this is the purpose of an income statement. The income statement, in the simplest of the simple things, will tell you about the top line of a company, that is sales of a company. Then it will tell you about each and every line item of expenses. See, these were the expenses that the company incurred, whether it was taxes, whether it was rent, whether it was advertisement, or the expenses was in the case of basically paying the fee to auditor as well. So all these expenses will be given by the company in an income statement, and we'll see how. This is the purpose of an income statement. An income statement is also known as the profit and loss statement. Income statement को हम P&L statement या profit and loss statement भी के नाम से जानते हैं, और it is also known as the statement of revenue and expense. So there are two other names for income statement. If someone asks you what is the P&L statement of the company, so he's asking you about the income statement, or like in annual reports it is also called statement of profit and loss. So statement of profit and loss of a company, then revenue and expenses, and it actually focuses on the income of a company during a particular period of time. This is what the purpose of a simple income statement is, and this is the simplest definition of an income statement. So let's carry forward the example of Siddhant and the samosa shop, right? So if you are watching this in the course, you'll see in balance sheet and cash flow we have used this example. But if you're watching it for the first time, so let's just assume Siddhant is one of the partners at SYC, and he opens this samosa shop. So Siddhant today has 10 samosas. So Siddhant today has 10 samosas, right? So like he sells 10 samosas for ₹5 each. So his volume for samosas is 10, and his value of selling one samosa is equal to ₹5, right? Volume can also be known as quantity. Value can also be known as what? Price. So one samosa price is ₹5, and he has sold 10 quantities, right? So what will be the sales? Simply, sales is nothing but sales is what? Sales is equal to quantity into price. Suppose if you are a grocery shop owner and if you sell 10 packets of Lay's chips, and if you sell them at ₹10 each, so 10 will be your quantity because you have sold 10 packets of Lay's, and price will be 10 as well because आपने 10 पैकेट Lay's बेचा, like आपने 10 रुपए का एक Lay's बेचा, so that is the price. So 10 quantity into ₹10 per Lay's packet will give you your sales of ₹100. Similarly, in Siddhant's case, because Siddhant has 10 samosas, he sold 10 samosas. You can just look at this. Siddhant has sold 10 samosas, and one samosa cost is ₹5. So Siddhant's sales will be ₹50, right? That Siddhant's total sales will be ₹50. That is 10 into 5. As simple as that. Now let's look at his total expenses of making and selling the samosa. So his total expenses for making and selling this samosa is, so he has spent on maida, right? So maida is something like so he has spent his money on maida. Then he spent on aloo. This is an example. That is his costs. Then he has a kitchen equipment over which he charges depreciation, right? So all these things, if he included, then his total expenses, we come to what are the total expenses in a business, is equal to ₹30. So his net profit will be equal to ₹20. That is, sales minus expenses is equal to net profit of Siddhant. Simply, when you look at profit and loss statement of a company, it will actually give you a similar account. It will tell you about the sales of a company and all the expenses of a company, and finally the net profits of a company. And finally, we come to earnings per share. So just in the chat section below, is it simple to understand what is the purpose of a profit and loss statement? Is it simple? Just drop a simple in the chat section below. Awesome. Now we'll go forward and we'll slowly increase the level of the thing. Now let's try to calculate different margins for Siddhant, right? So if someone asks you that what is the margin, like what is the gross margin for Siddhant? So gross margin is nothing but gross margin is the margin that comes after the processing of raw material. Now let's just assume over here that Siddhant samosa he sells for ₹50, right? Siddhant has sold samosas for ₹50, and the money that he has purely spent on raw material, that is aloo and maida, something that is directly related to production, is known as cost of goods sold, or also known as COGS. Basically raw material processing, something that is directly linked to the production of a company. So Siddhant ke samosa banane mein what is directly linked to production? That is aloo and maida, right? And he spent ₹10 on this. So what is the formula for calculating gross profit or gross margins? So first we'll come to gross profit. Gross profit simply starts with sales minus COGS, or also known as cost of goods sold. हम हर एक कंपनी का निकाल के भी देखेंगे. This will give you gross profit. So just in the so what is the gross profit today? It is ₹40. So because I've given you the gross profit, can you tell me what is the gross margin for Siddhant? Just in the chat section, what is the gross margin for Siddhant? What will be the gross margin? तो सिद्धांत के लिए क्या ग्रॉस मार्जिन होगा इसमें? 80%, right? So what we have done simply, like I'll explain this in both languages. कि what we have done simply is कि जो ₹40 है, 40 को हमने डिवाइड करा सेल से 50 से और into 100 कर दिया. So this will give you an idea that 80% is Siddhant's gross margin. So what gross margins is telling us is that if I just exclude the raw material processing cost out of sales, what is the profitability for Siddhant? कि अगर सिद्धांत की सेल अगर आज 50 रुपए की है, उसमें से 40 रुपए उसने आलू, उसमें से 10 रुपए उसने आलू और मैदे के ऊपर खर्चे, एंड 40 रुपए का उसका जो ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट है, तो हम इसको एक तरीके का ये मानते हैं कि जो उसका रॉ मटेरियल अगर आप खर्चा निकाल दो, सिर्फ जो इन्वेंट्री या फिर रॉ मटेरियल प्रोसेसिंग के ऊपर है, अगर आप सिर्फ उसको हटा दो तो ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट सिद्धांत का 40 रुपए है एंड मार्जिन सिद्धांत का 80% हुआ। दैट इज 40 डिवाइडेड बाय 50 into 100 because 40 is 80% of rupees 50. तो मार्जिन सिद्धांत का 80% हुआ। Now I am asking this question to all of you: is 80% a high margin or a low margin? 80% is a very high margin, right? 80% is a very high margin. Awesome. तो पहले हमने देखा ग्रॉस मार्जिन क्या है, व्हाट इज द फॉर्मूला फॉर ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट, दैट इज सेल्स माइनस कॉग्स इज इक्वल टू ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट, एंड व्हाट इज द फॉर्मूला फॉर ग्रॉस मार्जिन, ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट अपॉन सेल्स इनटू 100 will give you gross margin. Now further coming to Siddhant's example, right? Now let's just assume that Siddhant has sold stuff for rupees 40. Like अगर मैं सिर्फ कॉग्स हटा दूं तो ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट सिद्धांत का 40 रुपीस है. But now let's look at the stuff, now let's look at other things. That Siddhant has kept an employee. सिद्धांत ने ऐड भी करी अपने समोसे की, so Siddhant also did advertisement for his samosa, and he also had to pay rent, and he also had to pay for electricity. So all the expenses which are involved in running of the business are known as selling, general, and administrative expenses. What are they known as? Selling, general, and administrative expenses. अब इन terms को बहुत जरूरी याद रखना, because when we are going forward and when we are looking at other stuff, so these terms will come again and again because I'll help you to calculate them in a very easy format. Employee cost, power cost, यहाँ तक जो auditor का भी cost होता है वो भी यहाँ पे, advertisement cost, and like there are n number of costs for traveling, and all the other costs which are not linked to production are a part of selling, general, and administrative expense. As the name says, कि product को बेचने का क्या cost है, selling. General cost क्या है company का, that is under general. Administrative cost क्या है company का, that is under admin. So this is known as SG&A. So Siddhant का जो selling, general, and administrative cost है, or the SG&A cost was rupees 10, right? And what is the formula to calculate EBITDA now? EBITDA का क्या होता है? EBITDA होता है earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And EBITDA is also known as cash operating profits for a company. EBITDA is also known as cash operating profits for a company. So if you just look at this example, from gross profits of rupees 40, if Siddhant's SG&A is rupees 10, so his EBITDA will be equal to rupees 30. And can now every one of you calculate the EBITDA margin for Siddhant? Can every one of you calculate EBITDA margin for Siddhant just in the chat section below? क्या सब EBITDA मार्जिन सिद्धांत का कैलकुलेट कर सकते हैं? और इसको हिंदी में हम कहते हैं कामकाजी मुनाफा, कि सिद्धांत का कामकाजी मुनाफा कितना है. अगर वो अपना रॉ मटेरियल का खर्चा और अपनी बिजली का खर्चा और अपने एम्प्लॉइज का खर्चा हटा दे तो जो मुनाफा बचता है उसको कामकाजी मुनाफा कहते हैं, which is known as EBITDA in English, right? हाँ, operating profits is similar to EBITDA wherever we see. Cash operating profits is a better name for EBITDA. Like it is also known as OPEX, operating expenditure. Shashank has rightly pointed out. So SG&A को OPEX भी कहते हैं, operating expenditure, the expenditure that is required to run the business. Right? Awesome. Wages are also a part of SG&A expenses, and generally these are also known as OPEX, that is operating expenditure, right? तो banks के केस में OPEX देखेंगे, हर जगह OPEX होता है. So you'll just look at the formula to calculate EBITDA margins, that is EBITDA to sales into 100, that will give you 60% EBITDA margin, 30 rupees upon 50 rupees into 100. All right. So just remember these two terms from this, that is selling, general, and administrative expenses, which is also known as OPEX. So all operating expenditure of a business, that is just doesn't include the raw material processing expenses, which is a part of COGS. अगर उसको अलग करके जो भी business को चलाने का खर्चा है, that is a part of OPEX, or also known as selling, general, and administrative costs. फिर अब हम आते हैं अगली लाइन आइटम पे, राइट? सो दिस इज लिंक टू डेप्रिसिएशन. सो हम डेप्रिसिएशन का यहाँ पे एग्जांपल देते हैं. सो दिस इज EBIT मार्जिन्स. नाउ EBIT इज समथिंग नोन एज अर्निंग्स बिफोर इंटरेस्ट एंड टैक्सेस. कि क्या आपका अर्निंग्स बिफोर इंटरेस्ट एंड टैक्सेस. So from EBITDA, that is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, we just subtract depreciation. So depreciation is normal wear and tear of assets. हम आगे जाके देखेंगे depreciation का भी. But we just subtract depreciation. Now Siddhant has cooker and chula, and his depreciation is rupees 2, right? So we just subtract depreciation. So from EBITDA, what's the formula to get to EBIT? कि आप इसमें से सिर्फ depreciation और amortization subtract कर दोगे, so you'll get to EBIT. This is the formula to get to earnings before interest and taxes. And EBIT is generally known as operating profit of a business. But अगर आप screener या तिजोरी पे कहीं पे भी देखते हैं, so they mention EBITDA as the operating profit of a business. But EBITDA is generally known as cash operating profits of a business. So this is one difference that you have to remember. And whenever you look at तिजोरी finance और screener, जो भी operating margin दिखाया जाता है वो EBITDA margin होता है तिजोरी finance और screener पे. Because that is generally what we are using. So EBITDA margin is shown on screener and तिजोरी. Just remember this for your own understanding. That is cash operating profits. Now EBITDA was 30 rupees. Depreciation is 2 rupees. Right? So EBITDA was 30 rupees. Depreciation is 2 rupees. Now his EBIT, that is earnings before interest and taxes, comes to what? So his EBIT comes to 28 rupees. And what is the EBIT margin in this case? Simply EBIT divided by sales into 100. Sales Siddhant ki 50 rupees hai. His EBIT is 28 rupees into 100. We simply get to 56% as our EBIT margin, right? So that is an example of how the thing works. Now you'll identify कि gross margin 80% था, gross margin से आते आते हम EBIT margin पे 56% आ गए, और या फिर EBIT पे 60 पे आ गए. तो 20% के आसपास सिद्धांत का जो margin था that was taken away by OPEX और SG&A. Right? Now finally coming to one more interesting concept. अगर हम और नीचे आते हैं P&L में, we get to profit before tax, which is known as PBT. So PBT का सिंपली फॉर्मूला क्या है, राइट? सो अगर मेरे पास EBIT है, EBIT can also be known as PBIT, that is profit before interest and tax, right? अगर मैं इसमें से interest minus कर दूं or the finance cost that I've paid on my borrowings, what I get to is PBT, which is also known as profit before tax, which is also known as profit before tax. Simply just look at this. His EBIT was 28 rupees, right? His interest cost is 0 because he hasn't taken any borrowings from anyone. This is why his PBT is also equivalent to his EBIT, that is 28 rupees. So his interest cost is 0, his EBIT is 28, and his PBT is also equal to 28 rupees because he hasn't taken any debt from anyone else. This is why his interest cost is 0. Basically, he hasn't taken any borrowing, so this is why he doesn't have to pay any interest, right? As simple. Now, finally, coming to the most important one, that is profit after tax. That is profit after tax. So in profit after tax, what ends up happening is that your PBT, right? So your PBT is 28 rupees. Now, just assuming 25% or 30% Siddhant is paying as taxes, so he's paying rupees 8 as taxes. So I've just taken a ballpark figure of rupees 8 to just simplify stuff. So आप 25% के हिसाब से भी निकाल सकते हैं, 30% के हिसाब से भी निकाल सकते हैं, 25% के हिसाब से आप normal corporate tax rate है 25-26% का, that you can do and take out an exact figure. But I'm just trying to make it simple for you. The taxes of rupees 8 and profit after tax of rupees 20, right? What will be Siddhant's PAT margin? PAT margin will be simply PAT upon sales into 100. That is, PAT margin will be over here. It will be 20 divided by 50 into 100, and this will give you an answer of 40%, right? So now there are some things that are to be remembered, like sales will be the top line of a company, and profit after tax will be known as the bottom line of the company. Because when we are making the income statement, profit after tax is the last thing that we mentioned. This is why it is known as bottom line of a company. And from here, if you want to calculate the earnings per share, अगर आपको EPS निकालना है इस company का, so simply you take that profit after tax. Now Siddhant's company's 20 shares are outstanding. Simply you take the profit after tax and divide it by number of shares outstanding, and you'll get to the earnings per share for Siddhant, that is rupees 1, right? So just like overall understanding में, right? So what is the cash operating profit for a business in the chat section? It's EBITDA, right? No, we don't use profits in formula. We use sales, Somit, because हमें margin sales के percentage में देखना होता है, and that gives you actually profitability margins. We don't use profit in the denominators. We use sales only. So just as an example, अगर 100 rupees की sales है, 50 rupees का cost है, तो आपका margin हम कितना कहते हैं? 50% का आपका margin होगा, right? That is 50 rupees upon 100, right? Another question: wages will be a part of what? Wages will be a part of what? Which type of cost are wages a part of? COGS, SG&A. Right? Awesome. Now another question for you. All right. So now suppose if I start a business today, and suppose let's just example like I'm into a business of manufacturing chairs, and if I buy plastic from Reliance, just as an example, so what will that plastic be a part of जब मैं वो कुर्सी बेचूंगा? वो plastic किस type का expense होगा मेरे लिए? It will be an example of COGS, right? Cost of goods sold, right? It is directly linked to production of the chair, right? Now rightly pointed out by someone, in some of the industries, right? So in some of the industries, COGS का जो concept है इतना relevance नहीं रहता. Now suppose if you talk about the IT industry, right? So IT industry, you will always see that no company mentions gross profit margins. All the companies are talking about operating margins or EBITDA margins, right? So all the analysts are also tracking EBITDA margins or operating margins, because IT companies में the major cost is the employee cost. So in such sectors, you only look at EBITDA margins. So this is what like the IT companies mention, right? Because IT sector is such, because your major raw material are your employees. So this is why IT sector will always include EBITDA margins. They will never talk about gross profit margins, right? Now just going forward. Now this is the entire funda. I'll just show it to you so that it is easily visible, right? So I'll just turn the camera back on as well. So this is the entire funda, right? So sales, right? So this non-core or this other income, meanwhile we'll exclude. So sales is revenue from core operations. Then we have cost of goods sold, right? When we subtract sales from cost of goods sold, we get to gross profit. From gross profit, we'll subtract selling, general and administrative expenses, which is also known as OPEX for a company, that is operating expenditure. Then we get to earnings before interest and taxes, right? So earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation and amortization. So over here we get to EBITDA, right? Over here we get to EBITDA, right? From EBITDA, if we subtract, तो यहाँ पे अगर हम EBITDA में से, from EBITDA, if we subtract D&A, then we get to earnings before interest and taxes. जो ये वाला हमारे सामने PBIT आ रहा है, that is earnings before interest and taxes. Over here we get to EBITDA. From EBITDA we subtract if we subtract depreciation and amortization, we get to earnings before interest and taxes. From EBIT we subtract interest and finance costs, then we get to PBT, that is profit before taxes. Then we subtract taxes, then we get to profit after tax, and finally we do simply profit after tax divided by number of shares outstanding, we get to earnings per share, right? It is that simple. Simply what we can do, I'll just simply also take a whiteboard and I'll just explain it to you in terms of how it is done. Just give me a moment. Whiteboard option, right? So simply I'll just share this. All right. So simply how we calculate this is sales, right? Simply what we do first thing is sales, right? I think screen सबको visible तो होना चाहिए, right? Is the screen visible to all? The whiteboard is visible, right? Awesome. So simply what we do, first thing is that we take sales, right? And sales may say what we subtract is COGS. Once we subtract COGS from sales, we get to gross profit. We get to gross profit. From gross profit, we subtract something known as S, G, and A, that is selling, general, and administrative expenses, or also known as OPEX. Once we are done with this, we get to something known as earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. और इसको हम ये भी बोल सकते हैं profit before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And it is also known as cash operating profits. It is also known as cash operating profits. From this, we subtract depreciation and amortization. Then we get to EBIT, that is operating profits, which is known as operating profits, or earnings before interest and taxes, or profit before interest and taxes. From EBIT, we simply subtract something known as like interest. From EBIT, we just simply subtract interest. Then we get to PBT, that is profit before taxes. फिर प्रॉफिट बिफोर टैक्स में से हम टैक्स सब्ट्रैक्ट करेंगे तो हमारे पास प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स आ जाएगा. क्योंकि हम सबसे पहली चीज सेल्स से स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं, सो सेल्स इज नोन एज टॉप लाइन ऑफ अ कंपनी. Sales or revenue is known as the top line of a company, and the last thing that we get to in an income statement is the PAT, which is also known as the bottom line of a company. Right? So this is the simple funda. And the first thing that we start with is sales. This is why it is known as top line of a company, and the last thing that we have is the PAT, which is also known as the bottom line of the company. Right? So it is as simple as this. And मतलब इससे ज़्यादा कुछ इसमें like समझने को है नहीं, but we'll go to each and every stuff and we'll also try to calculate the margins. So now a trivia question for you: what is known as the top line of a company? What is known as the top line of a company? And just open the chat section. What is known as the top line of a company, guys? The answer is B, sales, right? Awesome. Another question: what is known as the bottom line of a company? Cash flow होता है, EBITDA होता है या PAT होता है? What is known as the bottom line of a company? That is profit after taxes, right? Bottom line of a company is profit after taxes. Awesome, awesome. So everyone is following. Awesome. So now this is what an income statement actually looks like. So अगर आप एक real life income statement का example लेंगे, so this is what it actually looks like, right? So ये अगर हम example लेते हैं, I think this is the income statement. I think APL Apollo का है, and this is what the income statement actually looks like. तो यहाँ पे भी हम इसको सिंपली चीजें देखेंगे कि यहाँ पे क्या क्या चीजें कॉग्स का पार्ट है, क्या क्या चीजें सेल्स का पार्ट है. So first is revenue from operations. So revenue from operation belongs to sales. That is core revenue from operation. Other income for the meanwhile we won't include it. We'll exclude the other income. Other income को भी हम नहीं मान के चलेंगे. Other income basically जो other parts of business से आती है, like sale of scrap, traded goods. So that is all part of other income. For meanwhile we'll exclude other income. So total income they show, that is revenue plus other income, that is total income. But sales of a company, we are just referring to revenue from operations. Then expenses में आते हैं. तो ये जो first three line items है, these first three line items are a part of COGS. That is known as cost of goods sold. These three line items are a part of COGS. That is known as cost of goods sold. Then you have something known as like the OPEX. तो पहले हम cost of goods sold हम सारी चीजें करेंगे. We'll calculate each and everything with you as well. But then we have something known as employee benefit expense, right? Then we have other expenses. Now this other expenses will have the auditor expense, the traveling expense, all type of expense will be a part of other expenses. Miscellaneous expense will also be a part of other expense. But once we add employee benefit expenses with other expenses, if you just look at these two things, right? Employee benefit expenses and other expenses, this will give you your OPEX. OPEX को हम और क्या कहते हैं? Just in the chat section below, OPEX को और किस नाम से जाना जाता है? Just in the chat section below. Selling, general and administrative expenses. Wonderful, wonderful. All right, awesome, awesome. Everyone is getting right answers. Awesome. Right? So OPEX को हम selling, general and administrative expense के नाम से भी जानते हैं. Then what is this and what is this? So just a second. Right? So depreciation and amortization, right, is over here. That is another expense. And this finance cost is nothing but your interest expense. This finance cost is nothing but your interest expense, जो हमने वहाँ पे डिस्कस करा था. Then after subtracting all these line items from EBITDA और ये सारी चीजें हम इसमें से निकालेंगे. Then we get to profit before taxes, and then this is the tax expense, and then this is the tax expense. Then finally we come to profit after tax, that is known as profit for the year. That is known as profit for the year. That is what we finally come to. Now this other comprehensive income, this we'll study towards the end. What is the meaning of this, right? So this is something that we'll study towards the end. इसमें mark to market gain और ये सारी चीज होती है. This we'll study towards the end. But till now, just stay with me. That these are some of the things that we are actually looking at. Like so other comprehensive income और ये सब हम करेंगे. But towards the end, you see earnings per share. कि per share कितना earning है? If number of shares are outstanding, like 10 shares are outstanding, and if the company is doing 220 rupees of profit, so per share the earning is 22.3 rupees. फिर आपके सामने एक और रेशियो भी आती है, बेसिकली diluted EPS. So diluted is if the company has given ESOPs or if the company has issued more shares during the year, then you also get to diluted EPS. So we always have to look for diluted EPS in a company whenever we are looking at EPS of a company, right? So this is in a simple term what the profit and loss statement of a company looks like. But we'll calculate each and every ratio with you together. But first we'll start with is revenue, right? First thing that we'll start with is revenue. First thing हम किसके साथ start करने वाले हैं? Revenue के साथ, right? So revenue for a company consists of two main things. One is revenue from core operations. That is, one is revenue from core operations of a business, and second is revenue from non-core operations of a business, or that is also known as other operating revenue. Other operating revenue will actually consist of things like scrap का sale हो गया, trading goods हो गई, या तो like export incentives हो गए. So all that is part of non-core operations, because वो business के core से नहीं आया. जो भी चीज business के core से है, जो भी business की activities है, that is known as revenue from core operations of a business. So over here in APL Apollo's case, if you look at the revenue from operations, if you look at Apollo's revenue from operations, so core revenue from operations are what? Sale of products, right? And if you look at like, so these are the core like revenue from operations, right? यहाँ पे जो भी discount था वो यहाँ पे subtract हुआ, and these are the prices that they've sold steel tubes for. Then जो other operating revenue है, other operating revenue, that is non-core revenue from operations, that is sale of scrap, right? तो इन्होंने scrap बेचा 431 crores का, तो इनके business में पत्रा के नाम से इसको जानते हैं, because whenever you're producing a lot of steel tubes, a lot of scrap also gets produced, so that scrap gets sold, right? Second thing is export incentives, so they got 6 crores of export incentives, that is not much, and last is job work. So other operating revenue, whatever revenue is not related to the core operations of the business, will be a part of other operating revenue. So what we are more concerned with is the core operating revenue of a business. That is what we are concerned with, right? So just going forward, just a second, right? Now before we go forward, so just to test your memories, what is known as cash operating profits of a business? Just in the chat section below. Right, see, that is EBITDA. So someone also asked the question, where do we see employee cost in that statement? So employee cost आपको ये दिख रहा है यहाँ पे, that is employee benefit expense. So if you can see the D thing, that is known as employee benefit expense. So this is the employee cost that the company has incurred, right? So just awesome. Going forward again, so we answered the trivia question, and now moving forward to what are sales, and we'll come to the different iterations of sales and why is it very, very important to have the right type of idea, right? So what are sales, right? So sales, let's take an example. Imagine that you're owner of Pepsi and you sell 10 packets of Lay's for 10 rupees each. So one packet, right, is one quantity. So there are 10 quantities of Lay's that you have sold, as we discussed in the earlier example, and you have sold them for 10 rupees each. So in this case, sales is equal to volumes into realizations. Realization is also known as value, and it is also known as price. So volume 10 packets, and the realization is rupees 10. So sales is equal to rupees 100, right? This is the simplest of the simple thing that the company can report in its sales. But now there are different combinations that a company can report in it to increase the sales. So we'll just look at some of these combinations and we'll do these experiments and we'll look at live case studies. First combination is, so we say this value growth. We call this value growth. Okay, we call this value growth, or we also call this realization-led growth. We also call this realization-led growth. That the company was selling 10 packets of Lay's, but the price of one Lay's packet increased by rupees 2. So then the sales will go to rupees 120 and 20% will be known as the realization growth, because ये pricing की वजह से आया बस. Packet of Lay's 12 रुपए का हो गया, right? So this is known as realization-led growth or value-led growth. Second combo is that your volume also grew to 12 packets and your value also grew to 12 rupees. Now this is something which is known as both volume and value-led growth. तो यहाँ पे आपका क्या आएगा कि अगर आपने यहाँ पे आपको 144 के आंसर रहेगा, because your volume is 12 packets and your value is 12 rupees. So answer is 144 rupees of sales, which implies almost a 44% growth rate, right? I think the guy who made the presentation a round off करके चीजें, so I'll keep doing the mathematically right corrections, right? So over here 12 packets into rupees 12, right? So 144 rupees of sales and growth of 44%. Just as an example. Now the third combo is that your volume led growth. तो इसको कहते हैं volume led growth. कि आपके सेल्स के पैकेट 10 रुपए के 12 रुपए के हो गए. Is that you've sold from 10 packets, you've sold now 12 packets. So you have sold, instead of 10 packets, now you have sold 12 packets. So your quantity which was 10 now has increased to quantity of 12. And your value remains 10. मतलब आपके प्राइस 10 रुपए है, but आपने 10 से 10 पैकेट की जगह 12 पैकेट बेच दिए. So your sales goes to rupees 120 and your growth is 20%. Highest quality of growth, write this somewhere down, is the volume led growth. Highest quality of growth is the volume led growth. Value led growth तभी high quality होती है whenever a business is trying to change its product mix. Now third case also happens, that is one more combo that also happens, that the volume of a company increases but the value decreases, right? Value कब decrease होती है जब आपकी pricing गिर जाए. And in this case, even though your volumes have grown, but what ends up happening is that in totality your sales degrow by 4%. You can see the impact, right? So these are the four combos that you can use to assess businesses कि क्या volume growth हो रही है इस time पे या फिर इसमें value growth हो रही है. So one business that we'll discuss multiple businesses to, I want to hammer this point in your mind, because see, ये जो volume और value growth का phenomena है बहुत लोग ignore कर देते हैं, and कभी-कभी pricing led growth होती है businesses में, and people tend to forget that. Now this is a business, Solar Industries. Can anyone read this with me? So just in the chat section below, 2017 में कितना volume बेचा था Solar Industries ने explosives का? Solar Industry makes TNT, dynamites and explosives. So 2017 में how much volume did they sell? Just in the chat section below. 3 lakh, right? How much volume are they selling in 2022? 4.0 lakh metric tons per annum, right? All right, thumbs up. Simple to understand. Metric tons per annum, it's just a unit of measurement. माने आप सिर्फ आप metric tons per annum का वो एक unit of measurement है बस. राइट. सो ऑसम. सो यहाँ पे वॉल्यूम ग्रोथ अगर आप देखेंगे तो हार्डली सोलर इंडस्ट्रीज में 7 to 8% के आसपास की वॉल्यूम ग्रोथ है, if you observe it from 2017 till 2022. But now I'll just open the what we'll do is that I'll just open the like sales of solar industries. I'll just open it on screener for all of you, right? So I'll just open the sales of solar industries, right? I'll just share the screen with you. I'll turn screener into light color so that it's better, right? All right, over here. Now you just look at this. So 2017 से इनका वॉल्यूम ग्रोथ तो 5-6-7% के आसपास ही. But you just check this out. That 2017 से you might have seen कि इनका सेल्स ग्रोथ कितना आ रहा है, right? 2017 से. Now 1580 crores का सेल, how much has it grown to? 4738 crores. So what is the sales growth for last 5 years? 20%. Whereas volume growth is barely 7 to 8%. Why is it so? Why is it so? अगर वॉल्यूम ग्रोथ 6-7% है बट सेल्स ग्रोथ 20% है, तो रिमेनिंग 13% कहाँ से आ रहा है? रिमेनिंग 13% इज कमिंग फ्रॉम द वैल्यू इंक्रीज, राइट? दाम बढ़ गया. बिल्कुल एक बंदे ने बहुत सही से बोला, दाम बढ़ गया. दीपक कुमार, ऑसम, यू मेंशन दाम बढ़ गया. सो बेसिकली वैल्यू लेड ग्रोथ, राइट? So now just going back to the presentation and then let's just see the data in fact. So the value led growth is coming right now, and I'll just take it to you over here. So you can see the realization per ton has actually gone up from, मतलब आप पर टन कितनी आपकी प्राइसिंग है, तो आपकी मतलब पर लेस के पैकेट आप अगर 35,442 का पहले बेचते थे, अब वो 71,778 का हो गया, क्योंकि प्राइसिंग मार्केट में बहुत बढ़ी है. क्योंकि वन ऑफ द की रॉ मटेरियल्स दैट आई मेक इज अमोनियम, या यूज इज अमोनियम नाइट्रेट. एग्जांपल लेते हैं, लेस को बनाने का की रॉ मटेरियल आलू है. आलू के दाम बहुत बढ़ गए, तो इस वजह से मेरे को लेस का भी दाम बहुत बढ़ाना पड़ गया, बट क्वांटिटी सोल्ड मेरी उतनी थी. तो अगर आलू के दाम वापस घट जाते हैं, इफ द प्राइसेस ऑफ पोटैटोज फॉल, व्हाट विल हैपन टू माय रियलाइजेशन अगेन? विल माय रियलाइजेशन फॉल और इंक्रीज? फॉल, राइट? Because if potato prices increase a lot, and if I just pass on the potato price hikes in one packet of Lay's chips, if potato prices again from rupees 100 rupees per kilo falls to rupees 20 rupees per kilo, then again I pass that on to customer. तो आपके सामने क्या आएगा कि मेरी जो realization per packet of chips होगी, that will fall, right? Then I will have to reduce my prices, then the sales will fall as well. So this is one simple funda to understand कि जब आप वॉल्यूम और वैल्यू देख रहे हो, तो यहाँ पे क्या हुआ कि ये पोटैटो प्राइसेस फॉर देम इज अमोनियम नाइट्रेट, जो एक्सप्लोजिव्स में यूज होता है. तो अगर आप अमोनियम नाइट्रेट के प्राइसेस देखोगे, तो दिस इज व्हाट इज हैपनिंग. दीपक फर्टिलाइजर का स्टॉक किसने देखा है? हैज एनीवन एवर ट्रैक दीपक फर्टिलाइजर? तो दीपक फर्टिलाइजर मेक्स अमोनियम नाइट्रेट, जिसका प्रोडक्शन शटडाउन अभी यूरोप में चल रहा है. तो दैट कंपनी इज वन ऑफ द बेनिफिशियरीज ऑफ यूरोप. तो जब भी अमोनियम नाइट्रेट के प्राइसेस उसमें रिवर्स मारते हैं, उसी टाइम पे दैट्स द टाइम यू गेट आउट फ्रॉम द स्टॉक, बिकॉज डजंट मेक सेंस कि, क्योंकि क्या है कि जब प्राइसेस वापस रिवर्स मारेंगे, then what will happen is कि आप पीक मार्जिन और पीक रियलाइजेशन में लेके कंपनी को बैठे हैं. एक्चुअली इट्स अ कमोडिटी बिजनेस, राइट? बिकॉज अमोनियम नाइट्रेट इज अ प्योर कमोडिटी. हाउ टू चेक इफ सेल्स इज इंक्रीज ड्यू टू वॉल्यूम और प्राइस, वो भी आपको भी सिखाता हूं मैं अभी, राइट? नाउ दिस इज वन फंडा टू अंडरस्टैंड. Second funda, right? So one more example for all of you that you can simplify it is, now this is from a company by the name of Kaveri Seeds. Now this has been a value trap for multiple years, and मेरे opinion में, मतलब just my opinion, I can be 100% wrong, मेरे opinion में value trap another 3, 4, 5 years के लिए रहने वाला है, simply because of government regulation. तो यहाँ पे इनकी सेल्स में देखो क्या हुआ. Earlier they were selling one packet of cotton for rupees 800 to 900. One packet of cotton for rupees 800 to 900. Then what ended up happening? That the government enforced a regulation that you can't sell one packet of cotton for this much. That you have to decrease the prices. Now see, just simply what has happened is, even though, like, just compare it till 2021. Even though their volumes of cotton seeds has grown from 5.6 million to 7.09 million, but their sales have barely grown, right? Sales are still between that 422 crores to 440 crores mark, simply because their realization per packet has fallen drastically. तो इसको हम कहते हैं कि realization degrowth, but volume growth हो भी गया, तो इस वजह से sales grow नहीं हो रही. And this realization degrowth and volume growth is given by companies where in their con calls. तो मैं आपके साथ examples भी discuss करूंगा अभी, right? So another example, what is happening in the world today right now is that, is anyone tracking the coffee prices in the world today? कि coffee prices के साथ क्या हो रहा है? So coffee prices are drastically increasing in the world right now. So there is one company, CCL Products, right? तो CCL Products के केस में भी क्या आएगा कि जो टॉप लाइन ग्रोथ है, अब आपको इस साल बहुत ज्यादा एलिवेटेड दिखनी चालू हो जाएगी, right? This year you will start seeing CCL Products top line to be very, very elevated. That is something that you will start finding out. I'll send you the tools to track. Like, I'll just send the tools to track. So I'll send. So this is why maybe that stock might enter the virtuous cycle of high top line growth, peak realizations. वहाँ पे अभी start हो रहा है. But just as an idea that these are some things जो आपको दिखना चाहिए कि ऐसे ये sales और volume का जो ये mix है, like value versus volume, this is something which very few people focus on. And actually मैं आपको, before I take you to each and every industry example, I'll take you to a few con calls. मैं आपको ना कुछ con calls में लेके चलता हूँ, right? So first con call I'll take you to is granules, right? The first con call we'll go to is granules. First con call is that I'll open is granules. ग्रैन्यूल के केस में एक अच्छी चीज हो रही है कि इनका पैरामिनोफिनॉल का जो प्रोडक्शन था इस टाइम पे like they produce paracetamol, तो उसका जो intermediate था paraminophenol, तो उसका जो supply है, multiple suppliers have come in. But what ends up happening in pharma businesses is pricing erosion. I'll just show you pricing erosion, right? Just give me a moment. Right. So someone asked him, someone asked the management that my second question would be on EBITDA margins. As we have seen, there EBITDA margins remain around 20 to 21%. So are we going to see the same trajectory? Like we are seeing any volume-led growth that will contribute to EBITDA margin? Like we have seen pricing erosion, but are we seeing any volume-led growth? Yes, we do. We do see some growth. We are fairly confident, and EBITDA margin will keep creeping up on up. We may not see we like EBITDA margin 30% तो नहीं जाएगा, but definitely margin will keep creeping up and improve quarter on quarter because they have done backward integration. तो मतलब इनके पास बहुत सारे ना अपने molecules में they have done backward integration. And secondly, the suppliers for paraminophenol have come up. So they were like single buyers. So earlier they were like only one or two suppliers, but now there are multiple suppliers for this product, and they Granules is making paracetamol. So their cost of raw material will also fall. But one thing to realize is that in pharma businesses, pricing erosion is a very very big issue because आपकी जो value है वो बार बार घटते जाती है. तो मैं आपको यहाँ लॉरेस के एग्जांपल पे दिखाता हूँ. Right, I'll just show it to you in Lawrence example. I'll just download that report as well. So just give me a moment. I'll just in the meanwhile open Telegram and I'll just show it to you कि ये जो like value erosion होता है, why is it very very risky for businesses, right? कितना risky क्यों होता है? तो यहाँ पे मैं आपके लिए अभी खोलता हूँ. Right, so I'm just opening it. In the meanwhile, you can just read that Kaveri slide अच्छे से. One off. All right. Right, so I've downloaded the report and I'll share it with you now. All right, is the report visible to all? Just in the chat section below. Is the report visible to all? Awesome, awesome. Right. All right. So यहाँ पे like this was Laurus Q1 FY23 results, and one thing to recognize over here is that the pricing erosion that has happened in the ARVs. So just over here, just read this line. वैसे con call में भी discussed है, but just read this line. That Laurus witnessed a steep 15% year-on-year decline in ARV pricing. Right, they witnessed a 15% decline in ARV pricing. Right, and like the brokerage, whatever they believe that further pricing erosion remains a possibility given increased aggression by a couple of key incumbents in the ARV FDF segment. So competitive intensity is increasing in the formulations business for the FDF division of Laurus. So that is something to recognize, right? कि value erosion माने pricing erosion हो रहा है इस टाइम पे. तो chat box में just send a thumbs up अगर आपको volume और value का अभी तक फंडा क्लियर हुआ. Cyclicality lucky definitely हो जाती है businesses में. Awesome, awesome. Volume growth companies generally give it in their presentation. यहाँ तो कंपनीज अपनी उसमें दे देती है, like con calls में they mention the volume growth. So I'll just give you one example, right? So I'll just give you one example. So I'll just open Varun Beverages right now for you. And Varun Beverages के केस में I'll just open the presentation of Varun Beverages. तो इस वजह से whenever you're reading con calls, make it a habit that you also open the investor presentation, right? So over here in Varun Beverages case, if you just look at the volumes, you'll just see the company is giving volume growth as well. तो ये sales volume ही बता रहे हैं आपको कि किस हिसाब से volume बढ़ेगी from 279 million cases to 569 million cases. Now this is just first half of 2022, so they follow the current year method. वो अलग चीज होती है, उसको इग्नोर कर सकते हैं. पर इस साल के फर्स्ट हाफ में 480 million cases, तो लास्ट ईयर पूरे साल में 569 million cases थे, right? So you can see the companies do give their volume growth, right? Now another example I can showcase it to you. कि मैं आपके सामने Radico Khaitan खोलता हूँ, right? I'll just open this Radico Khaitan in front of you. I'll just open the transcript, right? And I'll just do a control F on volume. So they'll just tell you over here कि the Indian made foreign liquor volume growth led by prestige and above category which increased by 29%. So माने कि जो इनका प्रीमियम वाला मिक्स का बिजनेस था that has increased by 29%. So this is the idea of volume growth. And 29% of growth was led by prestige and above, that is the premium segment. So again volume growth the company mentions. So volume और realization of value इन सब चीजों का ना डिफरेंस पता करना बहुत जरूरी है because this can help you to avoid buying businesses when they are at peakish margin or peakish margin or peakish realizations type. That is very 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 important to understand. Now again I'll show you one more example that is of Timken, right? So Timken के केस में I'll just show you complete volume led growth, right? तो यहाँ पे I'll just open the transcript. मैं एक simple control है volume पे करूँगा, एक simple control है volume पे करूँगा, right? So over here. So their growth this quarter was how much? ये कितनी growth थी Timken की इस quarter में? 56% के आसपास, 56% की growth थी. तो एक एनालिस्ट ने पूछा कि वॉल्यूम कितना, वैल्यू कितना है, में से प्राइसिंग कितना है, राइट? सो अगेन कमिंग डाउन, सो ओवर हियर. So this is the answer. The volume growth more or less between two plants in last quarter would be 40%. So if total growth is 56% and volume growth is 40%, how much is coming by pricing? In the comment section, everyone. 16% is the correct answer. 10% पता नहीं कहाँ से आया. 16% is the correct answer. value growth might point to cyclicality. Volume is more important than value, but it's important that you sort of be aware whenever there's value growth in a business, right? So मैंने आपके साथ 4-5 examples discuss करने थे before I go forward sales के चक्कर में. So this is how you can interpret the sales, right? This is how you interpret sales, right? And this is how you sort of view stuff कि क्या इसमें चल रहा है. Now different industries have different metrics for sales. Right? So in liquor industry you will see that they talk about volume per case or realization per case. Per case क्या होगा liquor industry में? It will have 12 bottles of 750 ml each. That is one case in liquor industry. तो case की बात करेंगे. Right, so I think यहाँ पे अगर एग्जांपल होगा रैडिको खैतान के कॉन कॉल में, तो दैट आई कैन आल्सो डिस्कस विद यू कि वो बार-बार केस के एग्जांपल से नाम लेते हैं कि इतना इस क्या मतलब हमारा जो लिकर का इतना केस में ग्रोथ है, बिकॉज़ वन केस हैज 12 bottles, so one case has 12 bottles. So I'll just share the screen with you and we'll just look at the conference call of Radico again. So you'll just see that he'll mention. I'll just थोड़ा सा zoom in कर दूंगा ताकि problem ना हो. I'll just mention over here. Just give me a second. Right. During the first quarter of FY23, we reported a total IMFL volume of 6.82 million cases. So one case has how many? 12 bottles. So this is the revenue metric that liquor industry uses. समझने के लिए, because these are important things. No one else will tell you about them, but these are important things. Then beverages में भी जब हम वरुण beverage का example लेते हैं, so they also talk about one case. So one case over there has 24 bottles, right? Then if you talk about hotel industry, so hotel industry में what will be the key metric to track? That is average revenue per room. कि per room, एक room का कितना average revenue. So in the comment section, a question: when the hotel is fully booked, will the average revenue per room increase or decrease? When the hotel is fully booked. Lucky you have had a very good observation on Radico. वो आपका एकदम सही observation है. When the hotel is completely empty, so will the average revenue per room increase or decrease? तो जब आप होटल इंडस्ट्री को भी पढ़ेंगे, just remind yourself this impact or this thing is that above 70% utilization, the industry goes into a positive cycle. Above 70%, below 70%, 65, 60, 55%, the industry might not be doing so well. And average revenue per room starts increasing. And currently, the hotel industry is in a positive cycle because average revenue per room is increasing every quarter. Because second half, right? So second half of the year is the strongest for them. Second half क्या होता है? जो winters के months आते हैं. Second half of the year is the strongest for them, right? So that is something that you have to recognize. That second half of the year is strongest for the hotel industry. Then hospital sector में हम क्या देखते हैं? Average revenue per occupied bed. कि per bed what is the average revenue that the company is making? जैसे Max के केस में it is close to 50,000 rupees. Kim's के केस में it is close to 30,000 rupees. Because Max just focuses on tier 1 cities and like expensive treatment, whereas Kim's is more into tier 2, tier 3 cities and it is more into affordable treatment. Telecom के case में if you just look at this, what is the average revenue per user we check in telecom? Like whosoever tracks telecom companies or Bharti or Jio, have you heard about ARPU? That is the average revenue per user. Right? So ARPU for Bharti Airtel used to be 300 rupees, I think in 2007, which fell to 110 rupees lately, and now it is recovering to 140, 150. तो वो cyclicality है इसके अंदर. एक और चीज जो हम देख सकते हैं रिटेलर्स के अंदर, that is so like when we are talking about value, right? जब हम वैल्यू की बात करें तो किन रिटेलर्स में ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, एक बार वो भी हम बात करते हैं. तो एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल लेता हूं before we go forward, so that we don't digress too much. So let me take the example of Ethos, and Ethos में I'll just open the presentation of Ethos, right? And Ethos को हम कहते हैं लग्जरी रिटेल में. Why do we call it? It is a part of luxury retail. Why do we say that Ethos is a part of luxury retail? So I'll just show that to you. Ethos luxury retail का क्यों पार्ट है और कहाँ से दिखता है कि Ethos ज्यादा luxury retail का पार्ट है. So I think अगर इनकी presentation में नहीं है तो मैं आपको कॉन कॉल से पढ़वा दूंगा. Right? Just give me a second. तो यहाँ पे realization है कि पर वॉच इन्होंने एक घड़ी कितने रुपए की बेची. That idea will be over here, right? So over here. So Ethos में what is the price of one watch that they sell? What is the price of one watch that Ethos is selling? Just in the chat section below. So is it a luxury retailer or a value retailer? Can you say this is a luxury retailer? Awesome. Right? पर यहाँ पे भी मेरे को एक बहुत इशू लगता है कि last 2-3 years में this value has grown a lot because pricing of watch has grown a lot. So one off ना हो, so this is why just be a little careful. Volume का आपको idea फिर भी लगना चाहिए, right? So these are different metrics of sales or judging the sales of a company you can use in different industries. Let's say steel tubes or chemicals, you can use realization per ton or EBITDA per ton. And what is the profitability or realization per tonnage that you have? This is something that you can use in the steel tubes or the chemical industry. Now we are done with sales. Now we'll go to gross margins, EBITDA margins, EBIT margins, and PAT margins, and how to calculate them. Just before we go forward, so currently at SOIC we have like one membership bundle. So in this membership bundle we have like the SOIC business analyst course, the SOIC financial literacy course. Its first module was launched today in the morning. Like 5 classes were launched. Then SOIC super investor series, we keep interacting with different investors, and SOIC sectoral expert series. So we totally believe कि जो SOIC sectoral expert है, तो जैसे अगर आप different sectors देख रहे हो, तो हर एक sector की different language है. For hospital sector, there's a different language. For chemical sector, there's a different language. For agrochemical sector, like different language है. So the different languages are a part of the SOIC sectoral series. And SOIC business analyst course में what we have done is कि आपको accounting की language या business की जो basic language आपको समझ आएगी कि what is the language of the business. And apart from that, business analyst series के अंदर forensic analysis भी काफी बारी हम companies में फंस जाते हैं जहाँ पे accounting quality एकदम खराब हो जाती है. मैं आपको अपना example देता हूँ. तो I was there in a company जहाँ पे accounting quality एकदम खराब हो गई. So I was able to identify those points and I sold that stock, and I think that stock from 1000 has come down to 300 rupees. So all these 4 bundles are part of the SOIC membership as of now, and यहाँ पे अभी we'll be separating all these bundles out like from the membership. Currently they are a part of the SOIC membership, and you can use the SOIC bonus 10 to sign up for the course. You can use the coupon SOIC bonus 10, and this will give you like अभी तो course वैसे 15,000 है, the course will be for 13,500, and this 15,000 is also about to go to 25,000 because ये जितने भी bundles हैं ये separately आपको अलग से मिलेंगे after 1 month. So currently if you use this SOIC bonus 10, you'll get the course for 13,500, and this bonus link will be valid for next 48 hours. So just going forward, तो SOIC financial literacy में we are covering कि आप अपनी खुद की financial planning scratch से कैसे कर सकते हैं, right? If you are a basic new investor in the markets, you can learn about the basics of the market, that is introduction to markets, what is the power of compounding, and everything about the markets from scratch. Then everything about mutual funds from scratch, कि mutual fund को filter कैसे करना है, कौन से mutual fund में डालना चाहिए, and SIP कैसे plan कर सकते हैं. Because कभी-कभी क्या होता है कि markets में opportunity बहुत बढ़िया हो जाती है. So whenever we say कि markets में opportunity बढ़िया है, तो how to plan that? So that is also covered in the course. Then ETFs versus index funds, and index fund खरीदते कैसे हैं, ETF खरीदते कैसे हैं, उसका live session पूरा. Then apart from this, index funds versus active funds. Then all about gold as an asset class, कि gold में invest करना चाहिए नहीं करना चाहिए. Then housing as an asset class. The cryptocurrency, कि whether it's the next big thing or a fad. Then all about insurance खरीदते क्या क्या देखना चाहिए, and what to do and what not to do. All this is covered in the SOIC financial literacy course. And as a part of the SOIC membership, all the previous webinars are part of the SOIC membership, and all the future webinars are also part of the SOIC membership. Right? You can go through the course description. We'll also send it to you on mail. But if you want to sign up, then you can use the SOIC bonus 10 for the course. And SOIC business analyst, you can just look at the curriculum that will teach you the language of business, जो accounting है, balance sheet और cash flow भी उसमें सिखाया हुआ है, फिर financial shenanigans भी है, then return ratios भी है, and everything is covered in the SOIC business analyst part. And finally, SOIC sectoral expert में आपका agrochemical webinar, banking webinar, chemical webinar, insurance का webinar, general plus life insurance, real estate webinar, hospital sector analysis, IT sector analysis, platform sector analysis, pharma analysis, and fluorine sector analysis, and next analysis will be on QSR sector. So all these sectoral analysis have been done in the SOIC sectoral analysis bundle, and which is a part of the SOIC membership. So if you want to sign up, you can use the SOIC bonus 10 link. Coming back to the presentation, now let's start with a simple thing, that is what does COGS include. So cost of goods sold is defined as the direct cost that is attributable to the goods that is sold by a company. So I can just simplify it and call it the raw material cost is known as the cost of goods sold. It is a cost that is directly incurred to manufacture the finished goods, right? Actually, inventory, I think 2-3 types की होती है. One type is finished goods. Then एक होती है like inventory like which is being processed, और एक inventory होती है जो raw material के stage में होती है, which is unfinished inventory. So inventory is of 3 types, and all the cost of material consumed, we'll discuss that and we'll calculate that as well, includes the cost that is incurred on on manufacturing a particular good or a product. That is what COGS include. तो अब हम COGS का एग्जांपल लेते हैं और हम एक बार कैलकुलेशन करके देखते हैं कि हम COGS की कैलकुलेशन कैसे कर सकते हैं. सो विद मी एंड आई जस्ट ओपन वन ऑफ द प्रेजेंटेशंस ताकि आप लोग मेरे साथ कर पाएं. तो आप सब PI इंडस्ट्रीज की प्रेजेंटेशन खोल लीजिए, अगर आपके पास कहीं पे है तो just open the presentation of PI Industries and we'll calculate the COGS ourselves. Just open PI Industries, right? Just open PI Industries. So first I'll just open the presentation. I'll just go here and I'll also open the results of PI Industries, right? So let's do it together. Right, so all right, these are the results of the company and this is the presentation of the company. So far, if you're finding the session to be very simple, just drop a simple in the chat section or just drop a fire emoji if you're finding it to be simple. Awesome. So हम PI Industries की जितनी भी profitability ratios हैं, we'll calculate that together and we'll cross match to get the right answers, right? तो यहाँ पे हम आते हैं और PI Industries की presentation में देखते हैं. तो PI Industries has given their gross margins to us, that is 44%, and PI Industries has also given their EBITDA margins to us, that is 23%, right? तो यहाँ पे round offs भी ये कंपनी बहुत करती है. अगर 22.6% होगा तो 23% कंपनी लिख देती है. Now we'll come to PI Industries results, right? So I'll just open the results for PI Industries. Like these are the results, and we'll calculate each and everything, and then we'll finally cross check the answer कि हमारा क्या आंसर गलत आ रहा है या सही आ रहा है. So let's do it together. So let's do this together. So first thing, right, when we're calculating, first thing that we take is revenue from operations. Other income currently we don't include when we're calculating gross margins. Remember this. So what are the revenue from operation? 1497 crores. 1497.1 crores. That is the revenue from operation. Now I have to calculate COGS. So COGS में ये 3 line items आती है. So cost of material consumed, that is the material that the company has consumed. Purchase of stock in trade. Now suppose if the company has purchased something and sold it, so that comes a part of purchase of stock in trade. Then changes in inventories of finished goods, work in progress, and stock in trade. So that is changes in inventory as compared to last year as compared to this year. तो इन्वेंट्री का जो फंडा होता है कुछ ऐसे होता है कि ओपनिंग इन्वेंट्री होती है, राइट? एक ओपनिंग इन्वेंट्री होती है. सपोज करते हैं साल की स्टार्टिंग में ओपनिंग इन्वेंट्री थी 7 रुपीज की, एंड क्लोजिंग इन्वेंट्री थी राइट, साल के एंड में क्लोजिंग इन्वेंट्री थी तो बीच में परचेजेस और ये सारी चीजें होती हैं, बट सिंप्लीफाई करने के लिए क्लोजिंग इन्वेंट्री थी 5 रुपीज। सो चेंजेस इन इन्वेंट्री विल बी ₹2 which will get reflected over here. Changes in inventory का ये फंड है. The changes in inventory as compared to previous year will get reflected in this year. This is what is the meaning of changes in inventory, and we'll study the reasoning as well, right? So first we go to cost of material consumed. So COGS calculate करते हैं. So COGS में first thing is COGS of material consumed. So cost of material consumed is 853 crores, right? So COGS की calculation करते हैं. First thing is 853.1 crores. Then we add 51.9 crores plus 51.9 crores. 51.9 crores, right? तो यहाँ पे हमारा फर्स्ट कॉस्ट ऑफ मटेरियल कंज्यूम्ड और परचेजेस ऑफ स्टॉक एंड ट्रेड जब हमने दोनों को ऐड करा, हमारा कितना आंसर आया? ऑलमोस्ट लेट्स अज्यूम हमारा आंसर आया 904 करोड़ का, लाइक 905 करोड़ के आसपास का हमारा आंसर आता है यहाँ पे. लेट्स जस्ट अज्यूम दिस, राइट? 905 करोड़ का ये आंसर आया. देन चेंजेस इन इन्वेंटरी ऑफ फिनिश्ड गुड्स, वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस एंड स्टॉक इन ट्रेड. नाउ दिस इज अ नेगेटिव फिगर. Now this bit of COGS the company hasn't used. कंपनी ने ये वाला कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड इस क्वार्टर में या फिर इस क्वार्टर में ये वाला जो कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड था वो यूज ही नहीं हुआ, माने ये वाला प्रोडक्शन कॉस्ट यूज ही नहीं हुआ 63.54 करोड़ का. तो दिस आई विल सबट्रैक्ट व्हेन आई एम कैलकुलेटिंग COGS. इस चीज को याद रखना कि जब ये माइनस में होगा तो COGS में से सबट्रैक्ट होगा, जब ये प्लस में होगा तो COGS में ऐड होगा, क्योंकि वो लास्ट पीरियड से लेके अब तक यूज हो गया, बट इस पीरियड में वो यूज ही नहीं हुआ, तो इस वजह से वो अनयूज्ड एक तरीके का. यहाँ पे आई जस्ट मेंशन 63.4 करोड़ एंड आई जस्ट कम टू एन आंसर ऑफ, राइट, आई जस्ट कम टू एन आंसर ऑफ आई थिंक 841.6 crores. 841.6 crores. So now let's calculate the gross profit of the company and gross margin of the company. Simply आप लीजिए 1497.1 crores minus 841.6 crores. Simply do this. 1497.1 crores minus 841.6 crores. What is the answer that you get? What is the answer that you get? Just in the chat section. क्या आपका क्या आंसर आया? 1497 minus 841. 655.5 crores, right? And अब 655.5 crores को डिवाइड कीजिए एक बार ये सेल से. सेल कितनी थी? 1497.1 करोड़. व्हाट इज द आंसर दैट यू गेट? 43.7 करोड़ और 43.8 करोड़, राइट? 43.8 करोड़ के आसपास वी गेट द आंसर. सो दिस 43.8%, इफ यू जस्ट क्रिस क्रॉस और मैच 44%, so राउंड ऑफ करके कंपनी ने दिया हुआ है, बट योर आंसर कम्स क्लोज टू 44%, राइट? दैट इज द करेक्ट आंसर. नाउ सिंपली वी कैन आल्सो डू दिस फॉर वन मोर कंपनी, दैट इज लॉरस लैब्स, राइट? नाउ सिंपली लेट्स आल्सो डू दिस फॉर लॉरस लैब्स. लॉरस का हमने रिजल्ट निकाला, राइट? लॉरस का रिजल्ट निकाला एंड फाइनली हमने लॉरस का जाके यहाँ पे पीपीटी खोला, राइट? सो दिस इन्वेंटरी का जो डेफिनेशन है वो बैलेंस शीट से रिलेट कर सकते हैं बिल्कुल पीएनएल को, बट मैं आपको जाके इनकी डेफिनेशंस भी दिखाऊंगा ताकि आपके लिए और भी इजी हो जाए, राइट? सो ओवर है लॉरस लैब्स Q1 ऑफ FY23 कितना ग्रॉस मार्जिन है कंपनी का? 57.6%, राइट? एंड यहाँ पे हम एक बार चेक करते हैं लॉरस लैब्स का क्वार्टरली रिजल्ट के अंदर, इफ यू वांट टू कैलकुलेट द COGS एंड द रेवेन्यूज, राइट? तो रेवेन्यू कितना है लॉरस लैब्स का? 1539 करोड़ का, एंड जस्ट राउंडिंग इट ऑफ 1539 करोड़, राइट? कॉस्ट ऑफ मटेरियल कंज्यूम कितना लॉरस का? 759.2 करोड़. तो यहाँ पे हम 759 करोड़ लिख देते हैं पहली चीज COGS के अंदर. दूसरी चीज के यहाँ पे 55 करोड़, राइट? 55 करोड़ तो 764, 814 करोड़ का आ गया इन दोनों को अगर ऐड करा तो. देन इसमें से आई विल सबट्रैक्ट दिस बिकॉज़ दिस मच बिट ऑफ इन्वेंटरी हैजंट बीन यूज्ड, दैट इज 161.19 करोड़. That is 161.19 crores. So if you just minus this, so this will be like 830, 763, 663 crores. 663 crores. So just subtract 1539 by 663 crores. Subtract 1539 by 663. What is the answer that you get? What is the answer that you're getting? Right? So 1479, 1476, 876 crores के आसपास आपका आंसर आ रहेगा. Just in the chat section below. What is the answer that you're getting? 876 करोड़ के आसपास आंसर आ रहेगा. अब सिंपली इस 876 को डिवाइड कर दो 1539 से. व्हाट इज आंसर डिड यू गेट? एग्जैक्ट मतलब डेसिमल पॉइंट में भी बता दोगे तो राउंड ऑफ करके कंपनी देती है एक्चुअली, राइट? सो जस्ट सिंपली अगर हम 8 आई थिंक 876 करोड़ को डिवाइड करते हैं 1539 करोड़ से, तो एक बार हम करके भी देख लेते हैं. तो 876 करोड़, राइट? आई विल जस्ट ओपन द कैलकुलेटर, आई जस्ट डू दिस. 876 करोड़ को अगर हम डिवाइड करते हैं किससे? 1539 से. 1539 से. व्हाट इज द आंसर दैट यू गेट इज 56.9%. एंड लॉरेंस ने यहाँ पे कितना दिखा रहा है? बिकॉज हमने पॉइंट्स नहीं लिए, तो आई थिंक इस वजह से पॉइंट्स की वजह से हमारा आंसर करेक्ट नहीं आ रहेगा, बिकॉज हमने डेसिमल पॉइंट्स नहीं लिए, बट मोटा 57% इज द राइट आंसर दैट इज देयर. And this is the answer that we are getting, right? This is the answer that we are getting. If had we taken the decimal points, right, then our answer would have been precise. So is this understood by all? अभी तक so far so simple. If you are understanding it, right, कि अगर सिर्फ रॉ मटेरियल का कॉस्ट हटा दो तो आपको समझ आ जाएगा. So far so simple to understand, right? Awesome. Right? Right. So अभी मैं changes in inventory का भी एक बार मैं वापस पे आता हूँ. And this is why the gross margins are what they are. Now just going forward, अब एक बार हम देख लेते हैं कि यहाँ पे हम definitions देखते हैं. So all right. Just a second. Just a minute. Right. Just a minute. right, this all right. तो यहाँ पे अब हम इन्वेंट्री के एक अलग और एक आगे कॉन्सेप्ट पे आते हैं, दैट इज द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ दिस चेंजेस इन इन्वेंट्रीज का वील डिस्कस दैट व्हाई इज इट रिफ्लेक्टेड दैट वे, एंड वील आल्सो डिस्कस दैट व्हाट इज द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ दिस, एंड वील आल्सो डिस्कस द इन्वेंट्री गेन्स एंड ये इन्वेंट्री लॉसेस का क्या कॉन्सेप्ट रहता है, राइट। सो इन्वेंट्री का जो सिंपल फॉर्मुला होता है, अगर बैलेंस शीट से किसी को लिंक करना है, दैट इज सिंपल फॉर्मुला इज ओपनिंग स्टॉक प्लस परचेजेस माइनस क्लोजिंग, राइट। तो चेंजेस इन इन्वेंट्री क्या होती है, अगर ओपनिंग स्टॉक लेट्स अज्यूम 10 था एंड क्लोजिंग स्टॉक, अगर हम इन सारी चीजों को हटा के देखते हैं, अगर क्लोजिंग स्टॉक मेरा 7 था, राइट, तो माय चेंजेस इन इन्वेंट्री विल बी अ +3, विल बी अ +3। नाउ लेट्स अज्यूम कि जो मेरे पास क्लोजिंग स्टॉक 7 का था, all of a sudden what ends up happening is, just to read this as an example, कि अगर इन्वेंट्री लॉसेस का हमें और इन्वेंट्री गेन्स का अगर हमें फिनोमेना समझना है कि इन्वेंट्री गेन्स और इन्वेंट्री लॉसेस कब होती है, सो लेट्स जस्ट अज्यूम कि अगर हमारा जो परचेजेस माइनस क्लोजिंग है, नाउ ये जो क्लोजिंग का जो फंड है, राइट, जो क्लोजिंग स्टॉक हमारे पास पड़ा है, नाउ दिस क्लोजिंग स्टॉक फर्दर फॉल्स इन वैल्यू, नाउ दिस क्लोजिंग स्टॉक फर्दर फॉल्स इन वैल्यू, नाउ दिस 7 रुपीज। सो इन्वेंट्री की जब भी अकाउंटिंग होती है, तो आप एक चीज यहाँ पे समझ सकते हैं, जब भी इन्वेंट्री की अकाउंटिंग होती है, सो इट इज ऑलवेज डन ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ दिस, that whenever like inventory accounting happens, so it is always done on the basis of this. Just remember this, that is cost of inventories. That the cost of inventories shall compromise all cost of purchases, cost of conversion, and cost incurred in bringing the inventories to their present location and condition. And inventory की जो valuation है, वो हमेशा net realizable value की वे होनी चाहिए. That is the estimated selling price in the ordinary course of business less the estimated cost of completion and estimated cost necessary to make the sale. तो inventory gain कभी भी आप अपनी books of account पे book नहीं कर सकते, because it can never be higher than the net जो net realizable value के basis पे आप देखते हैं। तो inventory gains कैसे book होता है, उसका मैं आपको example दिखाऊंगा कि अगर कोई कंपनी पास सपोज करते हैं आपके पास आलू 5 रुपए का पड़ा था, आज आलू 10 रुपीज का हो गया, तो वो इन्वेंट्री गेन कैसे बुक होएगा। एंड सेकंडली व्हाट आई एक्सप्लेन कि इन्वेंट्री लॉसेस का क्या फॉर्मूला है, कि इन्वेंट्री लॉसेस आपको कहां दिखेगा, एंड व्हाई इज इट अ लिटिल ट्रिकियर फॉर अदर पीपल टू अंडरस्टैंड, एंड व्हाई इज इट ट्रिकी कि यहाँ पे शेनानिगन्स भी कंपनीज क्या करती हैं, राइट। सो फर्स्ट लेट्स स्टार्ट विद दिस थिंग ऑफ इन्वेंट्री लॉसेस, बिकॉज इन्वेंट्री शैल ऑलवेज बी मेजर्ड एट लोअर ऑफ कॉस्ट एंड नेट रियलाइजेबल वैल्यू, यानी इन्वेंट्री जो आपने कॉस्ट दिया था हमेशा उस पे मेजर होनी चाहिए, या जो नेट रियलाइजेबल वैल्यू है उस पे मेजर होनी चाहिए। इन्वेंट्री गेन्स हम कभी भी रिकॉर्ड नहीं कर सकते प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस स्टेटमेंट पे, सो दिस इज वन थिंग दैट यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड। अगर आप इसको थोड़ा सा अगर लाइक इफ यू जस्ट फोकस एंड इफ यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस, इट विल बी बेटर। तो फर्स्ट हम एग्जांपल लेते हैं यहाँ पे जुबिलेंट इंग्रेविया का, राइट। फर्स्ट एग्जांपल दैट विल टेक इज दैट ऑफ जुबिलेंट इंग्रेविया। सो जुबिलेंट इंग्रेविया के अंदर जो हम फर्स्ट एग्जांपल लेंगे, तो दिस इज लाइक एसिटिक एसिड, राइट। सो एसिटिक एसिड का देखेंगे, तो दिस क्लोजिंग और जो मतलब ओपनिंग और क्लोजिंग का जो यहाँ पे फंडा है, तो दिस थिंग दैट वी विल फर्स्ट लुक एट इज, राइट। सो जुबिलेंट इंग्रेविया में लाइक नाउ इन्वेंट्री गेन्स का हम एक बार पहले आइडिया समझते हैं कि इन्वेंट्री गेन्स कैसे होते हैं, देन वी विल स्टडी व्हाट आर इन्वेंट्री लॉसेस। पहले हम इन्वेंट्री जुबिलेंट इंग्रेविया में देखते हैं कि लॉसेस कैसे हुए। तो पहले हम एसिटिक एसिड की तरफ जाते हैं जुबिलेंट इंग्रेविया के, कि Q4 FY22 में जुबिलेंट इंग्रेविया को एसिटिक एसिड के लॉसेस हुए, राइट। तो मैं आपको यहाँ पे एक बार इनकी कॉन कॉल से भी दिखाता हूँ कि कैसे लॉस हुआ, तो यू विल जस्ट रीड दिस, इट विल बी बेटर टू अंडरस्टैंड कि अगर Q4 ऑफ FY22 में इंग्रेविया में अगर आप आते हैं, राइट, एंड इफ यू जस्ट स्टडी दिस सिंपल लाइन इन्वेंट्री लॉस, जस्ट स्टडी दिस सिंपल लाइन इन्वेंट्री लॉस, राइट। ऑलराइट, एसिटिक एसिड में इनका इन्वेंट्री लॉस हुआ कि आपने महंगी इन्वेंट्री ले ली और आज सस्ते में आपको बेचनी पड़ रही है, राइट। सो दिस EBITDA at 152 crores is 25% lower, mainly due to the impact of acetic acid price on our inventory. That EBITDA at 152 crores is 25% lower, mainly due to the impact of acetic acid price in our inventory. तो यहाँ पे एग्जैक्टली आपको एग्जैक्ट नंबर तो यहाँ पे नहीं पता लगेगा, मैनेजमेंट से पता लगेगा, बट आप एज एन इन्वेस्टर फिर भी कैसे देख सकते हैं। So I'll just open this. So Q4 of FY22 में if you just look at changes in inventory, if you just look at changes in inventory and just focus on this, ये जो changes in inventory है कंपनी का, ये तो लास्ट ईयर तो नेगेटिव था, राइट। तो दिस इज व्हाई वी डिडंट ऐड इन कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड, बट दिस टाइम यू विल सी कि चेंजेस इन इन्वेंटरी पॉजिटिव के अंदर है, चेंजेस इन इन्वेंटरी एज कंपेयर टू प्रीवियस ईयर इज इन पॉजिटिव। तो इफ यू जस्ट ऐड दीस थ्री थिंग्स, तो आपके सामने दिखेगा आपको कि ग्रॉस मार्जिन कंपनी का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करेगा, क्योंकि हुआ क्या बेसिकली कि आपका जो ओपनिंग स्टॉक था, तो यहाँ पे आप देखते हैं कि चेंजेस इन इन्वेंटरी पॉजिटिव के बारे में क्या हुआ। ओपनिंग स्टॉक 10 रुपीज था, तो क्लोजिंग स्टॉक आपका क्या था, ₹2 के आसपास था, तो आपका चेंजेस इन इन्वेंटरी 8 होना चाहिए था। जस्ट एग्जांपल, अगर हम यहाँ पे क्लोजिंग स्टॉक आपका ₹5 के आसपास था, तो यहाँ पे आपका टोटल स्टॉक कितना 5 के आसपास होना चाहिए, बट आपका क्लोजिंग स्टॉक की जो वैल्यूएशन थी वो और गिर गई। इफ योर वैल्यूएशन फर्दर फॉल्स टू ₹1, तो यहाँ पे जो पॉजिटिव डिफरेंशियल है, तो हम कहते हैं कि आपको यहाँ पे इन्वेंटरी लॉस हुआ है। दिस चेंजेस इन इन्वेंटरी गोज टू हाउ मच 9 इन दिस केस नाउ, एंड जो इन्वेंटरी लॉस है वो यहाँ पे रिफ्लेक्ट करेगा। बट यहाँ पे एक और भी कंपनीज करती हैं, अगर कंपनीज ने और यूनिट्स प्रोड्यूस करनी है, अगर कंपनीज ने और इन्वेंट्री लेकर रख ली, तो उस केस में क्या होगा कि आपका कॉस्ट ऑफ मटेरियल कंज्यूम बढ़ जाएगा, उस केस में आपका कॉस्ट ऑफ मटेरियल कंज्यूम बढ़ जाएगा। तो इन्वेंटरी लॉसेस आर रिफ्लेक्टेड ऑलवेज इन टर्म्स ऑफ हायर कॉस्ट, तो इन्वेंटरी लॉसेस विल ऑलवेज बी रिफ्लेक्टेड इन टर्म्स ऑफ हायर कॉस्ट एंड लोअर ग्रॉस मार्जिन्स। दिस इज समथिंग दैट यू कैन राइट इट डाउन समवेयर, क्योंकि ये थोड़ा सा कॉन्सेप्ट कंफ्यूजिंग है, क्योंकि हम लोग अकाउंटेंट्स नहीं है, राइट। तो अकाउंटेंट्स के उसमें थोड़ा आपको कंफ्यूजिंग लगेगा, बट एक चीज को याद रखना कि इन्वेंटरी लॉसेस विल ऑलवेज बी रिफ्लेक्टेड इन हायर लाइक चेंजेस इन इन्वेंटरी और हायर कॉस्ट ऑफ मटेरियल कंज्यूम, अगर आप और मटेरियल कंज्यूम कर लेते हैं। तो यहाँ पे मैं आपको एक इन्वेंटरी लॉस का एक क्लास के एग्जांपल दिखाता हूँ, प्रिंस पाइप्स के केस। तो प्रिंस पाइप्स के केस में लाइक हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू ट्रैक प्रिंस पाइप्स, हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू लाइक ट्रैक प्रिंस पाइप्स एज अ स्टॉक। तो जस्ट इन द चैट सेक्शन कि प्रिंस पाइप्स को इस टाइम पे कौन-कौन ट्रैक करते हैं? हैव यू सीन द स्टॉक प्राइस ऑफ प्रिंस पाइप्स? Right? So, all right. So just as an example over here for Prince Pipes, I'll just open this and I'll just show you what is happening in Prince Pipes case. तो प्रिंस पाइप्स के केस में इस टाइम पे इन्वेंट्री लॉस हो रहा है एंड मैनेजमेंट यहाँ पे बताती भी है आपको। तो जुबिलेंट इंग्रेविया का एग्जांपल मैं आपको एक चीज मैं और दिखा देता हूँ कि आप इन्वेंट्री लॉसेस कैसे देख सकते हैं। टूल्स में जाके अगर आप देखेंगे यहाँ पे एसिटिक एसिड आप लिखेंगे तो एसिटिक एसिड जस्ट जो जुबिलेंट इंग्रेविया का की रॉ मटेरियल है, राइट? सो दिस विल कम ओवर हियर एसिटिक एसिड। तो आप एसिटिक एसिड का अगर देखेंगे तो आई थिंक दिस अदर एसिटिक एसिड हैज ओपनड, आई कैन ओपन फ्रॉम एसिटिक एसिड, राइट? एसिटिक एसिड, राइट? लाइक दिस वन एसिटिक एसिड। तो एसिटिक एसिड का देखेंगे तो इस टाइम पे इन्वेंट्री बड़े गेन हो रही थी, इस वजह से सेल्स में रिफ्लेक्ट कर रहा था। तो जब भी इन्वेंट्री गेन होता है सेल्स में रिफ्लेक्ट करेगा, हायर सेल्स में लोअर कॉग्स में। आई विल शो दैट यू। Whenever the inventory falls, like whenever the inventory starts going down, तो inventory losses हमेशा higher cogs में reflect करेगा, higher cost of material consumed या like negative changes in जो inventory है वो आपका positive के अंदर आपको दिखेगा। तो similarly मैं आपको प्रिंस पाइप्स में एक एग्जांपल दिखाता हूँ। एक आप प्रिंस पाइप्स में आप एग्जांपल देखना, like this quarter as only। तो ट्रांसक्रिप्ट में इट्स अ वेरी फनी कॉन्सेप्ट बट ये आपको समझ आना जरूरी है। तो आप यहाँ देखते हैं इन्वेंट्री लॉस, राइट? तो प्रिंस पाइप्स का इस बारी कैश फ्लो नेगेटिव हो गया था, कैश फ्लो नेगेटिव हो गया था प्रिंस पाइप का, क्योंकि इन्होंने इन्वेंट्री पे बहुत स्टॉकिंग कर लिया था। पीवीसी रेजन इनका मेन इन्वेंट्री है, तो पीवीसी के प्राइसेस पहले बहुत ऊपर चल रहे थे। बट इस क्वार्टर से क्या हुआ कि लास्ट 2 क्वार्टर से पीवीसी प्राइसेस हैव स्टार्टेड फॉलिंग। दिस क्वार्टर विटनेस inventory loss led by constant falling of raw material prices, which has been a phenomena across the industry, right? We were impacted to a greater extent due to higher inventory as of 31st March, right? So you just see the total amount of inventory loss that the company has done. This quarter company has done 30 to 35 crores of inventory loss. Now the company has given it through like themselves कि इतना inventory loss हुआ। As an investor, if you want to check the inventory loss, simply just go to expenses and simply just look at the material cost, right? तो material cost जो है यहाँ पे COGS है स्क्रीनर में, ये जो material cost है पूरा COGS है स्क्रीनर में। तो you just look at this कि material cost पहले कितना था 70-65%, अब कितना हो गया material cost 79% के आसपास, right? So inventory losses and ये material loss आपको material cost कहाँ आपको दिखेगा? This will be reflected in terms of higher cost of goods sold और higher cost of material. This is where you can see material cost, right? तो ये आपको यहाँ पे दिखेगा 79% के आसपास। Just look at EBITDA margins of Prince Pipes। तो यहाँ पे इन्वेंट्री गेन्स हो रहे थे। इन्वेंट्री गेन्स तो ये एक फंडा आप कहीं पे लिख लो ताकि आपको इस कॉन्सेप्ट में कभी भी कंफ्यूजन ना हो, राइट? सो इन्वेंट्री गेन्स just a cheat sheet formula. Inventory gains will always be reflected in terms of higher sales / realizations. So it's similar to that example. Suppose if you have a jewelry shop and you bought gold at 20,000, right? But now the gold is at 50,000 and that is there in your inventory. Now you'll only sell that gold when some customer comes and buys that gold ornament or that gold jewelry from you. तो उस सिनेरियो में क्या आएगा? Then you'll report higher sales and higher realizations. But you won't anyway report inventory gain on your income statement because accounting says that inventory का जो valuation है वो यहाँ तो जो उसका lower of net realizable value पे दिखाना है या तो जो buying price है उसके ऊपर दिखाना है। What accounting says, that accounting tells us simply is that I'll just read this out again कि ऐसा क्यों नहीं होता, ये accounting हमें क्या बताती है? तो inventory shall be measured at lower cost at the lower of cost and net realizable value। जो आपका cost था उससे lower inventory दिखानी चाहिए आपको, या तो उतने पे दिखानी चाहिए या तो net realizable value पे। तो इस वजह से इन्वेंट्री गेन्स को हम सेल्स के थ्रू दिखाते हैं, राइट? सो इन्वेंट्री गेन्स आर ऑलवेज रिफ्लेक्टेड थ्रू द सेल्स ऑफ अ कंपनी। सो आई विल जस्ट टेक यू बैक टू Prince Pipes, राइट? सो दिस इज व्हाई दिस फिनोमेना इज लाइक दिस। अगर इन्वेंट्री गेन्स होती है तो हायर सेल्स में रिफ्लेक्ट करेगी, एंड इफ देयर आर इन्वेंट्री लॉसेस, इफ यू वांट टू रिकॉग्नाइज हाउ टू आइडेंटिफाई इन्वेंट्री लॉसेस, so inventory losses will always reflect where it will reflect in terms of higher cost of goods sold। तो यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं मटेरियल कॉस्ट बढ़ गया कंपनी का, इस वजह से मार्जिन सारी चीजें कम होगी। अगर मेरे को स्क्रीनर से ग्रॉस मार्जिन कैलकुलेट करना है तो हम यहाँ से कर सकते हैं। तो यहाँ पे 35% ग्रॉस मार्जिन था एंड यहाँ पे कितना था 21% की एज के आसपास ग्रॉस मार्जिन। यू कैन लुक एट द डिफरेंस बिटवीन द ग्रॉस मार्जिन एंड यू कैन राइट दिस डाउन समवेयर। इन्वेंट्री गेन्स विल रिफ्लेक्ट इनटू हायर सेल्स एंड रियलाइजेशन, इन्वेंट्री लॉस विल रिफ्लेक्ट इनटू हायर कॉस्ट, दैट इज हायर कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड। दिस इज अ फॉर्मूला दैट यू कैन राइट इट डाउन और दिस इज वन अंडरस्टैंडिंग दैट यू कैन टेक कि आपको कभी भी इसके बाद इसमें कंफ्यूजन ना हो। ये सिंपल आप फंडा लेके चलिए, इन्वेंट्री गेन्स विल बी इक्वल टू हायर सेल्स एंड रियलाइजेशन। जैसे गोल्ड मेरे पास 25,000 पे पड़ा है पर उसका जो ज्वेलरी ऑर्नामेंट आज मैं 50,000 पे बेच रहा हूँ, तो हायर सेल्स एंड रियलाइजेशंस, इन्वेंट्री लॉसेस विल ऑलवेज बी रिफ्लेक्टेड इनटू हायर कॉस्ट, एज सिंपल एज दैट। दिस इज वन फॉर्मूला दैट यू कैन राइट। I know it's a bit tricky ये फंडा समझना, but if you understand this formula somewhere, so like will you be able to identify inventory gain या loss कंपनी में हो रहा है कॉन कॉल्स के साथ like dots connect करके? Just a yes or no in the chat section below. Awesome. See, Page Industries is not so cyclical because they have brand. This is the moat, Swapnil. Page Industries का ब्रांड है। Page Industries प्राइसिंग हाइक भी करेगा तो डिमांड पे फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा, बट वही सेम प्राइसिंग अगर लक्स हाइक कर देगा या रूपा हाइक कर देगा तो उनकी हालत खराब हो जाएगी, राइट? So इस क्वार्टर एक्चुअली दैट टेल्स यू अबाउट द मोट, दैट इज व्हाट द आइडिया ऑफ मोट इज फॉर अ बिजनेस, राइट? That is what the idea of a moat is for a business. That this, just look at this quarter, Page Industries, right? Page Industries का अगर आप ये quarter देखते हैं, and if you just look at the margins of Page Industries, 22% EBITDA margins, right? And if expenses, if you just look at this, so 55% gross margins, almost same. Similarly, they've been doing 55 to 58%. But just look at Rupa this quarter. What has happened? First thing is that sales have gone, and what has happened is the EBITDA margins have gone. And the last thing that has happened is the gross margins have gone, right? So material cost, I think you might have stopped, but you can just look at the example that the sales have gone, because the moment they raise the prices, people stop buying, right? The moment they raise the prices. Is the idea of moat clear to you after this? कि Page Industries और Rupa के बीच में क्या फर्क है? कि one company can increase the prices and still sell, whereas one company will increase the prices where the sale halves. Like this is the power of a brand, right? This is why जो inventory accounting ये सब अगर कोई moated company है, it becomes very easy for them. Yeah, higher COGS can also be due to higher raw material prices. So this is also true in DV's Labs case. So DV's के केस में if you just look at this, right? So DV's के केस में if you just look at the margin this quarter, तो 38% के आसपास आया. Just compare it to the last quarter, the gross margins, right? You can just look at this. So this time gross margins are 64%, whereas last quarter gross margins were 67%, right? So higher cost की वजह से, higher coal cost and higher इन चीजों की वजह से आपका cost of raw material बढ़ गया DV's के केस में. Yeah, DV's के केस में it's a moat definitely, and like that is definitely something to be because 60-70% gross margin करना is not possible for all. हम उसकी तरफ आएंगे, moat की तरफ eventually, right? हम moat की तरफ आएंगे, but let us first come back to the presentation of EBITDA margins और बाकी चीजों की तरफ चलते हैं, right? Now coming to selling general and administrative expenses की SG&A cost में क्या क्या होता है? So OPEX जिसको हम कहते हैं, तो OPEX में क्या क्या होता है? OPEX consists of like cost of doing business, and it also includes rent, utilities, marketing, advertising, sales and accounting, management and administrative salaries. So if the company is paying rent, part of OPEX, power cost, part of OPEX, auditor ka fees, part of OPEX, employee cost, part of OPEX or SG&A, advertising, part of OPEX, miscellaneous also is a part of OPEX, right? So all these expenses which are done to run the business, right, which are not related to manufacturing or production or which are related to running the business are part of OPEX, that is SG&A. So SG&A में क्या आते हैं? दो चीजें मेन, that is your employee benefit expenses and second is your other expenses, that is a part of SG&A. These are the two key things to look out for. And more things to look out for. So other expenses of annual report में there is a section on other expenses, and if you open that, so let's read some of them कि other expenses में क्या है. So consumption of stores and spares, conversion charges, factory का maintenance का खर्चा, power and fuel cost, repair and maintenance cost, plant and machinery cost, buildings like repair of buildings, right? Product development, testing and analysis. So this is from Lawrence Labs I think. Then फिर ऑडिटर का फी है, तो ऑडिटर का फी यहाँ से आप देख सकते हैं 50 लाख के आसपास है. देन कम्युनिकेशन एक्सपेंस, फिर ट्रैवलिंग एक्सपेंस, फिर मिसलेनियस एक्सपेंस और फिर CSR एक्सपेंडिचर या फिर बिजनेस प्रमोशन एंड एडवर्टाइजिंग. सो ऑल दीज एक्सपेंसेस व्हिच आर इन्वॉल्वड इन रनिंग अ बिजनेस आर पार्ट ऑफ द SG&A. एंड SG&A में क्या क्या आते हैं इनकम स्टेटमेंट पे? एम्प्लॉय बेनिफिट और अदर एक्सपेंसेस, एज सिंपल एज दैट, राइट? तो एकदम कंपनी का SG&A और पूरा EBITDA मार्जिन निकाल के भी देखते हैं. बट बिफोर आई टेक दैट, इज डेप्रिसिएशन अ पार्ट ऑफ SG&A एक्सपेंस? क्या डेप्रिसिएशन सेलिंग जनरल और एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव का पार्ट है, हाँ या ना? The answer is no, right? So I think we'll just take a little 4-minute break because session भी 25-30 minutes का रह गया. So I'll just use the loop and we'll be back exactly at 3:45, right? So अभी 3:41 हो रहे हैं, 3:45 पे exactly मिलते हैं. Stretch your legs and stuff and let's meet each other at 3:45 again. Alright, I'll just turn the camera off. I'm just like the wages employee expenses का ही होता है या PPT I'll send. Just back in 3 minutes. All right, so I think I came back even before the time was up, right? So I'll just share the screen and we'll just come to this. All right, awesome. So let's start in another 1 minute. And yeah, PPT I'll send. PPT also I'll send. And I think अगर आपने बैलेंस शीट और कैश फ्लो का वेबिनार दिखाएगा तो आपको उससे इनकम स्टेटमेंट वॉक इन द पार्क बन जाता है आप सबके लिए, right? Depreciation is not a part of OPEC, like it's not a part of like SG&A expenses. Depreciation is a separate line item. So Mohammed, question of like, so Mohammed has asked a very good question. Ki if inventory losses and inventory gains are reflected in sales, higher sales or COGS inventory loss, ultimately it gets reflected in OPM. So what is the importance of showing it differently? So Mohammed, basically, suppose if there is a company, as a Prince Pipes, so just an idea, like I was invested in the company at somewhere 280, 300, but I sold the stock somewhere close to 630, 640 because the PVC prices की वजह से the company was reporting lifetime high margins, 19, 20%. And company खुद कह रही थी कि 13, 15% से ऊपर margin नहीं होगा. So the moment the cycle reverses, it is equally painful. But now because the EBITDA margins are at 7%, so I understood this cycle. This is why I was out of the stock. Now the EBITDA margins are at 70%, are at 7%, which used to be at 20%, 19%. So now it is equally an opportunity for me to identify कि ये जो 7% है ये इनकी गलती की वजह से नहीं है, ये इन्वेंट्री लॉस हो गया, लाइक वो किसी के साथ भी हो सकता है, जो एक क्वार्टर शायद से और होगा. So now I'll identify that stock and I will sort of do my work again on that particular company. This is the purpose of doing this, right? So inventory losses, Gaurav, I think Prince Pipes का 6-7 months का stocking का period था, तो उन्होंने 6-7 months की inventory stock कर ली थी इस बारी, I think because they were unsure of the supply. So this is why I think for one more quarter they will show inventory losses because prices are still falling. So this is why for one more quarter they will be showing inventory losses. Right. So just going forward and awesome. So everyone is back. So let's do this. Right. So above other expenses and now let's calculate EBITDA margins and EBIT for a company. Right. So we'll just calculate EBITDA margins and EBIT for a company and we'll do this together. Like so, let's take the example of PI Industries and we'll just we'll just do this together for PI Industries and I'll just open PI and जो भी like मतलब round off करके अगर 22.6% भी अगर तो companies end up showing it as 23%. So round off करके just remember this. So let's calculate the EBITDA margins now. तो पहले जब हमने ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट कैलकुलेट करा था तो व्हाट वाज आवर आंसर, इट वाज समवेयर क्लोज टू 655.5 करोड़, राइट? तो ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट कैसे कैलकुलेट करा था? सो अगेन अ सिंपल एक्सरसाइज 1497 करोड़ पॉइंट 1, राइट? तो इसमें से हमने कॉस्ट ऑफ मटेरियल कंज्यूम्ड एंड कॉस्ट ऑफ मटेरियल कंज्यूम्ड में से हमने चेंजेस इन इन्वेंटरी को माइनस करा. अगर गलती से ये प्लस होता तो इसमें ऐड ही होता है, तो कॉग्स में हमने अभी क्या करा? सो दिस वाज एडेड एंड दिस वाज सब्ट्रैक्टेड आउट ऑफ द 3 एंड वी गॉट द कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स. नाउ हमारे पास 655.5 करोड़ का ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट आ गया. सो हाउ टू कैलकुलेट द EBITDA ऑफ द कंपनी? To calculate the EBITDA of the company, I simply subtract employee benefit expenses, which is also wages of the employee. So 1117 crores, like 117 crores. That is 117 crores. So ये point आएगा यहाँ पे क्योंकि ये decimal ये rupees million में, तो this is why थोड़ा confusion हो रहा था. So 117 crores. So 655.5 crores minus 117.2 crores. Other expense कितना है? 200.9 crores. 200.9 crores. So what's the answer that you're getting? 655.5 minus 117.2 minus 200.9 minus 200.9. So सबका आंसर क्या आ रहा है? जैसे इन द चैट सेक्शन below. So the answer is 337.4 crores, right? So the answer is 337.4 crores, which is the EBITDA of the company. 337.4 crores. And if we want to calculate the EBITDA margins, so now what we'll do? अब 337.4 crores, right? तो कंपनी की सेल कितनी है? So now what we'll do, इसकी कंपनी की जो सेल है, so we'll do just simply this 337.4 crores divided by the sale. सेल कितना कंपनी का? 1497.1 divided by 1497.1 and we simply get to 23% almost. तो यहाँ पे इन्होंने राउंड ऑफ करा हुआ है, so you can simply see the answer and tally it to 23%. तो 22.53% जो कंपनी ने राउंड ऑफ करके 23% लिखा हुआ है, राइट? So this is how we get to the EBITDA margins of the company. So अगर एक और कंपनी का करके देखना है, so we can also do it for one more company. I think लॉरेंस का कर सकते हैं या नवीन फ्लोरिन का कर सकते हैं. So नवीन फ्लोरिन का we can do this together. So नवीन फ्लोरिन का I'll just open the presentation. All right, over here. So नवीन फ्लोरिन का जब presentation खोलते हैं हम, तो presentation खोलते हैं नवीन फ्लोरिन का and I'll just come to simply the consolidated profit statement, right? तो अब यहाँ पे मेरे साथ कर सकते हैं. तो यहाँ पे ऑपरेटिंग EBITDA मार्जिन ले रहे हैं. तो अगर आप 397.5 करोड़ जो नेट रेवेन्यू फ्रॉम ऑपरेशन है, जो कोर रेवेन्यू फ्रॉम ऑपरेशन है, उसमें मटेरियल कॉस्ट को माइनस करते हैं 182.3 करोड़ को, तो आपका जो आंसर आएगा उसमें से फिर आप एम्प्लॉय कॉस्ट को माइनस कीजिए, फिर अदर एक्सपेंसेस को माइनस कीजिए, फिर आपके पास ऑपरेटिंग EBITDA आ जाएगा कंपनी का. देन सिंपली इस ऑपरेटिंग EBITDA को नेट रेवेन्यू से डिवाइड करेंगे, देन यू विल गेट टू द ऑपरेटिंग EBITDA मार्जिन ऑफ द कंपनी, दैट इज 24.9%. Now this quarter, even though the company has hired like more people from 43.8 crores to 50.7 crores, and this quarter, even though the other expenses have also grown and cost of raw material has also grown, still the operating EBITDA margin has expanded. This is why the stock really went up after I think the quarterly results. Now let me give you a bad example of this, right? So let me open a company by the name of Newland, right? तो न्यूलैंड ने केपेक्स वेपेक्स कर लिया है, बट न्यूलैंड के केस में यूटिलाइजेशन नहीं हो पा रहा कैपेक्स का. अब किसी को नहीं पता किस टाइम पे होएगा. न्यूलैंड के केस में सिंपली जस्ट लुक एट द एम्प्लॉय कॉस्ट, क्योंकि जब आप नया केपेक्स करते हैं, so just to ask all of you, कि whenever you put up a new plant, will you hire more employees, right? And if plant से revenue generate ना हो, will your margins contract or expand? So this is also known as operating deleverage. Operating leverage का जो Laurus Labs की जो first 3 minutes of video है उसमें समझाया operating leverage. This is also known as operating deleverage. Your margins will contract. And your margins will contract. So just look at this example. कि Newland के केस में the employee cost, right, post expansion has nearly gone to almost 21.84%. Even though gross margins this quarter for Newland, मतलब जब product mix change होता है, माने like so जब product mix change होता है, so basically if you do something superior or if you climb up the value chain, your gross margin is the first thing that improves. But if you look at the gross margins for Newland, this quarter actually expanded, but yet the EBITDA margins fell. Why so? Because operating deleverage. Your sales fell. Even though product mix improved, आपने ज़्यादा value वाली चीज बेची, but क्योंकि आपका because you've already done the capex, this is why your EBITDA margins fell. Had the sales grown and the gross margins were intact, this would have been a blockbuster quarter for Newland. But sales degrew, right? So this is one way to look at gross margin and EBITDA margin connection. One more way to look at it. So Garware Technical Fibers, right? So this is one company that has over the years done a lot of value addition. So just look at this. Just look at this. So when we say that a company is climbing the value chain, so what we are saying is that the company is getting into higher gross profit products. जब हम कहते हैं ना product mix change हो गया है, higher value chain आ रही है, so company is getting into higher gross profit products, or also known as higher gross margin products. Now just look at this in Garware's case. So what was the gross margin in 2012? You answer in the chat section. Garware का gross margin 2012 में कितना था? 55 to 56% के आसपास. मटेरियल कॉस्ट अगर आप 100% मटेरियल कॉस्ट को माइनस करेंगे तो आपका ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट मार्जिन आ जाएगा, राइट? एंड नाउ व्हाट इज हैपनिंग? So company gave up its commoditized portfolio and started getting into value added products, right? So just look at this. Just look at the cost of material consumed, how much it has fallen. Now over the years, because business takes a lot of time, today the gross profit margins are somewhere close to 71%. So this is what we call that the company is changing the product mix. Another example, so a lot of you might be tracking this company or not. So Usha Martin, so full disclosure that I'm like invested in this company, and just look at so currently इनका जो like gross profit margin है, if you just look at it in last 3-4 years, what is happening is the gross profit margin is also expanding, but EBITDA margins are also expanding, and your PBT margins will also be expanding because interest cost घट जाएगा. But just look at this quarter, like so this quarter, just look at the gross margins as compared to last 2-3 quarters. The gross margins have expanded because they are doing more and more value added product. So again the company is saying that we'll be doing more value added product. तो जो जब भी कंपनी वैल्यू एडेड प्रोडक्ट बोलती है तो मतलब क्या है कि आप ग्रॉस मार्जिन एक्सपैंड करने पे फोकस कर रहे हो, दैट यू आर एंटायरली गोइंग टू फोकस ऑन एक्सपैंडिंग योर ग्रॉस मार्जिन्स, राइट? So this material cost, if it falls and if your sales increase, so then we say the product mix of the company is changing right now, or the product mix for the company has changed right now. So this is something that you have to recognize, right? So this is the importance of gross margins, and this is the importance of EBITDA margins. कि EBITDA में companies can actually use their like OPEX. कि अगर आपका OPEX नहीं बढ़ता, तो let me give you an example. अभी हम फाइनेंशियल्स में आ रहे हैं क्योंकि फाइनेंशियल्स के डिफरेंट रेशियोज हैं, तो फाइनेंशियल्स में आने का वैसे मतलब नहीं बनता अभी, बट स्टिल आई विल जस्ट गिव यू वन एग्जांपल. सो IIFL फाइनेंस, राइट? सो IIFL फाइनेंस के केस में अब लेट मी ओपन द पीपीटी एंड लेट मी जस्ट ओपन द कॉस्ट टू इनकम. So just look at the cost to income for the company, right? So cost to income for the company has increased to 43%. And why has it increased, right? So why has it increased? So cost to income इनके केस में OPEX होता है, ऑपरेटिंग एक्सपेंडिचर, बिकॉज नई ब्रांच लगाओगे, रेंट लोगे, पावर कॉस्ट दोगे, सारी चीजें, एम्प्लॉइज हायर करोगे. So operating cost rise is due to commissioning of 200 new branches, addition of 2,000 manpower, annual salary hike during the quarter. We expect cost to income to plateau for next two quarters and then start declining, right? तो इसी को हम कहते हैं कि ऑपरेटिंग लेवरेज बिजनेस के अंदर किक इन कर जाती है. सो दिस इज व्हाई इट इज इंपॉर्टेंट टू बी अवेयर ऑफ व्हाई अ कंपनी इज रिपोर्टिंग एलिवेटेड कॉस्ट. सो हम लोग फाइनेंशियल्स का एक अलग वेबिनार करेंगे, बट आपको जस्ट टू गिव यू एन आइडिया कि व्हेन द ओपेक्स इज एलिवेटेड एंड इफ द ओपेक्स फॉल्स, तो योर प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी एक्सपैंड्स अ लॉट, राइट? जब आपका एसजीएनए गिरता है एंड साथ साथ जब आपका अगर आप हायर वैल्यू एडेड प्रोडक्ट्स में जाते हो तो आपका ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट मार्जिन एक्सपैंड करता है. दिस इज वन थिंग दैट यू हैव टू रिमेंबर, राइट? सो इसी के केस में यही मैं आपको ग्रैन्यूल्स का यहाँ पे एक एग्जांपल भी दिखाना चाहता था जिससे आप ये चीज समझ पाए, राइट? तो अगर इफ यू जस्ट अंडरस्टैंड दिस ग्रैन्यूल्स एग्जांपल, ये दोनों चीज से क्या होता है. ग्रैन्यूल्स के केस में ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट मार्जिन एक्चुअली फेल अ लॉट, बट नाउ इट स्टार्टेड इंप्रूविंग. व्हाई सो? बिकॉज नाउ द रॉ मटेरियल हैज स्टार्टेड फॉलिंग. So your raw material cost is falling. So whenever your raw material cost is falling, your gross profit margin will anyways expand. And now you have so many suppliers that your raw material price will never go up for parameter. So it's a structural change in the business, and this is how you can screen ideas by looking at a P&L statement, and this is how you can actually do stuff, right? So other expenses में हमने देखा कि क्या क्या आता है, EBITDA हमने देखा. So just a thumbs up in the chat section, या फिर just a fire emoji in the chat section अगर gross profit margins और EBITDA margins अब तक clear है तो. Awesome. Awesome. ग्रैन्यूल्स के केस में रविंद्र इन्वेंट्री लॉस तब होएगा जब उसके प्रोडक्ट्स की या फिर उसके रॉ मटेरियल की प्राइसिंग बहुत गिर जाएगी. पर ग्रैन्यूल्स के केस में क्या था, उनको रॉ मटेरियल ही नहीं मिल रहा था प्रोडक्शन करने के लिए. लास्ट ईयर उनकी प्रोडक्शन 50% पे चल रही थी बिकॉज दे डिडंट हैव एनी रॉ मटेरियल टू प्रोड्यूस. बट नाउ फाइनली लाइक 60% वाज द मैक्स प्रोडक्शन दे वर डूइंग. बट नाउ फाइनली दैट द प्राइसिंग हैज करेक्टेड और द प्राइसिंग हैज फाइनली कम डाउन एंड सप्लाई चेन हैज ईज्ड. सो देयर ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट मार्जिन्स विल स्ट्रक्चरली स्टार्ट इंप्रूविंग, राइट? एक दो क्वार्टर का हो सकता है इन्वेंट्री हिट हो, बट देयर ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट मार्जिन्स स्ट्रक्चरली स्टार्ट इंप्रूविंग, right? So balance sheet we am not covering right now, so that is there. So awesome. So just going forward, all right. So now let's come to depreciation, amortization, and finally we'll go to like different methods of depreciation and most commonly used method को ही समझते हैं and क्या करते हैं. So depreciation and amortization तो यहाँ पे income statement interact करती है balance sheet के साथ, because balance sheet पे अगर 100 रुपीज का fixed asset है तो उसको depreciate करके हम अगर 20 रुपीज से depreciate करते हैं तो that will come to rupees 80, right? फिर 20 रुपीज आपका expense भी हो जाता है income statement के अंदर. So term depreciation refers to an accounting method used to allocate the cost of tangible or physical assets over its useful life. Depreciation represents how much of an asset value has been used, and it allows companies to earn revenue from assets they own by paying them over a certain period of time. Now the thing with depreciation is, why did depreciation come into being? Now suppose if you bought a chair of rupees 100 and your sales are rupees 100, let's just assume. So what do you say कि यार profit हुआ ही नहीं साल, zero profit. But now your accountant comes and says no ऐसा नहीं है, just wait for us. Now this chair का usually the economic value or the benefit that you will derive out of the chair is for the next 10 years. Is for the next 10 years. So what you can do, sir, is that you can simply book this expense as rupees 10 in year 1 and rupees 10 in year 2 and rupees 10 in like keep doing it rupees 10 till the salvage value becomes zero. यानी जब तक वो जीरो हो जाए. तो इवन तो आपने 100 रुपीज का कैश आउटफ्लो हो जाएगा जो आपकी कैश फ्लो फ्रॉम इन्वेस्टिंग में दिख जाएगा, परचेज ऑफ फिक्स्ड एसेट्स, बट यू डोंट इन इनकम स्टेटमेंट जस्ट पुट इन 100 रुपी परचेज. यू डेप्रिशिएट द एसेट बिकॉज द इकोनॉमिक बेनिफिट्स दैट यू गेट विल बी इनकर्ड ओवर अ लॉन्ग पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. जैसे अगर नवीन आज प्लांट लगा रहा है तो नवीन अगर आज 1600 करोड़ का कैपेक्स कर रहा है तो इनकम स्टेटमेंट में डेप्रिसिएशन पे 1600 करोड़ नहीं लिखेगा नवीन. Naveen will depreciate that asset over a period of 20 years because the plant will give them benefit for the next 20 years. So every year possibly they might be their depreciation might go up, right? So that is an example. So every year वो शायद से 100-120 करोड़ का depreciation करेगा. So this is the simplest or the simple meaning of depreciation, and this is how depreciation can be looked at. The depreciation is natural wear and tear of assets, and it is just a non-cash expense which is shown in the profit and loss statement. And what is a like method for depreciation which is commonly used by Indian companies? It is the straight line method. It is the straight line method. Now suppose you purchase a machine of 6 lakh rupees. Suppose you purchase a machine for 6 lakh rupees, and useful life of machine is for 5 years. So simply what you'll do is that you'll write the cost of machine is 6 lakhs. Income statement where how you will show the depreciation cost is 1,20,000 in year 1. So 4,80,000 is the balance of depreciation. It gets carried to year 2. Then again 1 lakh, then again the depreciation amount of 1,20,000. Then balance is 3,60,000. And again balance of 3,60,000. Then 1,20,000 in depreciation. Then balance is 2,40,000. Then again in year 4 your closing becomes opening of year next. So year 4 2,40,000. Then your depreciation is 1,20,000. Then again last is 1,20,000 left, and year 5 में ऊपर 1,20,000 till your salvage value becomes zero. You keep depreciating the asset. Even though it's an imprecise language, ये भी हो सकता है कि आपकी asset की life 20 years निकल जाए, और ये भी हो सकता है कि आपका asset year 3 में खराब हो जाए, right? So these are just estimates that accounting teaches us to take. That straight line method हम depreciation का कर रहे हैं. Another method of depreciation is a written down method. So written down method भी आप देख सकते हैं. So written down method usually is a more aggressive form of accounting, and it's like so written down value of 20%. So in this method we charge depreciation which is calculated as a percentage of asset. So every year we'll take 20% as a percentage of asset. जैसे अभी 6 लाख पे 20% करा depreciate तो 4,80,000 बचा. But 4,80,000 पे if you depreciate 20%, you are left with 3,84,000. Then on that you depreciate 20%, then you're left with 3,07,000. On that you depreciate 20%, then you're left with 2,47,000. So that is the depreciation amount. So this is an aggressive form of accounting, right? Written down value अगर आप ऐसे करते हैं. Straight line है, written down value और expected patterns of consumption है. That is simply जो Reliance Jio करता है, which is aggressive form of accounting. कि आप कहते हैं कि हमारा year 1 में because I built this toll road, so year 1 में less traffic is coming, but in year 3, year 4 a lot more traffic will come. So in year 3 and year 4 we'll increase the depreciation amount. Simply this is what it means. It is charged on the basis of number of units produced from the asset. Very aggressive accounting as profits are high initially and production is low. So Jio uses this type of accounting. Expected patterns of consumption. Also one more example how companies can manipulate depreciation, because हम income statement ही देख रहे हैं, तो मैं आपको एक कंपनी का एग्जांपल देता हूँ. So just in the chat section, how many of you have heard of Tanla platforms? Tanla platforms की कभी किसी ने depreciation देखी है? I personally also like I have this like framework that whenever I'm looking for a new company, I just one thing that I look out for is the simplest way to fudge accounts is to play around with depreciation. Simplest of the simple way. Just look at the depreciation rates of Tanla because you can show higher profitability. From 378, 73, 57. First thing is if there's too much volatility in depreciation, then one thing is the company is playing around with depreciation. From 169 crores, the depreciation fell to 84, 76, 53, 20. Then from 378 crores, the depreciation fell to 40, 41, 41. So this is one way that companies can play around with depreciation. And this, I think, why do companies do so? Because your return on capital employed increases. Because ROC का क्या formula है? ROC का क्या formula है? Whenever we calculate ROC, it's EBITDA minus depreciation and amortization. Then we get to EBIT and EBIT upon capital employed. So if your EBIT, right, if your depreciation falls artificially, right, if you do some accounting changes, then your EBIT will increase, numerator बढ़ जाएगा, right? Suppose पहले 10 rupees का EBITDA था, depreciation was 2 rupees, like suppose depreciation was 4 rupees, so your EBIT will be 6 rupees. But now 10 rupees EBITDA, but now depreciation on 4 has fallen to rupees 2 now. So what will happen to EBIT? Your EBIT will artificially expand, and your ROC will also artificially increase. These are things that you have to remember that companies will do, and these are things that you have to remember that companies will try to play around with. And these are things which will be painful as well when the bull market ends, right? So a question for all of you, like, so my highest suggestion will be, if you're watching this income statement analysis, also watch the SOIC balance sheet analysis, cash flow analysis, free cash flow analysis, and also do watch the SOIC forensic analysis. Because see, if you just watch these like videos or watch these basically classes, it's very difficult for you to get fooled, right? It will be very difficult to get fooled. So if you don't get fooled, then what is left is being reasonable and average. And if you're reasonable and average over a long period of time, by definition, you end up becoming above average, right? So one question for all of you, trivia question: is income statement made on the accrual principles of accounting? Just in the chat section below. Is income statement made on the accrual principles of accounting? Yes or no? The answer is yes, right? So income statement accrual principles of accounting में बनता है. Because income statement में आप क्या करते हो? So you book revenues when the sale is done, not when the cash is received. Suppose you have a samosa stall, and if you sell 10 samosas for 50 rupees, so you'll book 50 rupees as your sales, but you have only received cash for 30 rupees. 20 rupees आपने उधारी पे दे दिया. So that is the entire concept of balance sheet, trade receivables, cash flow. And actually, I'll highly suggest you also watch those 2 webinars along with forensic analysis. So आपका understanding एकदम accounting में ऐसा clear हो जाएगा, आपको कभी fool नहीं कर पाएगा, right? So this is the finance cost which reflects on income statement. So finance costs can be like interest paid on borrowings or interest paid on non-convertible debentures. So PI Industries में अगर हमें calculate करना है EBIT PI का, तो EBIT कैसे कैलकुलेट करेंगे? पहले EBIT पे आते हैं, फिर PBT पे चलेंगे. तो PI इंडस्ट्रीज में आते हैं एक बारी PI, राइट? ऑलराइट. तो हमारा EBITDA कितना आया था PI में? आई थिंक 337.4 करोड़ का था, इफ आई एम नॉट मिस्टेकन, राइट? 337.4 करोड़ का हमारा EBITDA आया था PI में. 337.4 करोड़ का था, राइट? ऑलराइट. तो 337.4 करोड़ का हमारा EBITDA था. तो हाउ टू कैलकुलेट EBIT? तो 337.4 करोड़ का हमारा था EBITDA. EBIT कैलकुलेट करने के लिए जस्ट सब्ट्रैक्ट डेप्रिसिएशन एंड अमोर्टाइजेशन. That is 55 crores minus 55. That comes to 282.4 crores. That is your EBIT. That is your EBIT. That is your EBIT. And now something which becomes very interesting over here. Now let's calculate PBT of PI Industries. तो PBT में जो हमने अदर इनकम बहुत टाइम से इग्नोर कर रखी थी, that gets added back at PBT. So PBT के लिए now 282.4 crores. अब मेरे को यहाँ से क्या हटाना है? Interest expense. Interest expense in case of PI Industries is barely 3.3 crores. So 3.3 crores. So basically 279.1 crore will be my 279.1 crores will be my like PBT after cancelling the interest. But यहाँ पे you will find that the company is showing 302 crores. So maybe we have gone wrong somewhere. But no, we have not gone wrong. We'll simply add back other income while getting to PBT. We'll simply add back other income of 23 crores. So our answer comes somewhere close to 302 crores, which is what the company is reflecting, 302 crores. So this is how PBT, EBIT, EBITDA, gross margins, all these things are calculated, right? This is how all these things are calculated. So was it like simple enough to understand? If you can just, if you're loving the session, just drop a loving it in the chat section below. And is it simple enough to understand? PBT, EBIT, EBITDA और gross profits हमने कैसे calculate करें, right? Awesome. तो यहाँ पे किसी का टैक्स का क्वेश्चन था. आई थिंक टैक्स इज कैलकुलेटेड एज अ परसेंटेज ऑफ पीबीटी. ये अगर प्रॉफिट बिफोर टैक्स में, सो दिस विल गिव यू अ गुड हिंट. तो 1033 करोड़ का टैक्स लाइक प्रॉफिट बिफोर टैक्स है, तो 18% टैक्स बना, क्योंकि इसमें मैट क्रेडिट्स और एक्सपोर्ट इंसेंटिव्स भी बहुत होते हैं. तो 18% टैक्स माइनस करके 844 करोड़ के आसपास आपको प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स आएगा. This is how tax gets reduced and we get to net profit. This is how tax gets reduced and we get to net profit, right? So tax is calculated as a percentage of PBT, right? इसलिए कहते हैं लोग कि एक्सपेंस ज्यादा करो कंपनी के अंदर. अगर आप लाइक कैश कंपनी में ज्यादा रहे तो एक्सपेंस भी दिखाओ. So you at the end your tax at least is a bit lower. So this is one of the things जो usually commonly CA says. I don't know if people should do it or not. This is how the thing happens. Now, a lot of companies, Asian Paints was a thing, like in 2018-19, corporate tax cut was announced. From 33%, corporate tax was cut to 26%. Just look at the growth of PAT. See, operating profits have grown from 3,300 crores to 4,800 crores. But your PAT has grown from 2,100 crores to 3,500 crores. So in absolute percentage terms, operating profits have grown by 50%, but PAT has grown by nearly 70 to 80%. Why is it so? Because of tax cut. Because your tax was reduced. So जिस दिन ये tax reduction हुआ था September में, I think I remember that day. So उसी दिन I think the stocks just went up like ferociously. Why did they went up ferociously? Simply because you are getting more cash. Like this was the date, I think this one. Right, from I think this was a day from 1532. The stock ended at 1800 or 1900 in a month's time, because your cash flow increases, your PAT increases, your free cash flow increases, your DCF जो valuation करते हैं, everything increases, right? This is the simplest of the simple things जब tax cut हुआ. So this is how things play out when it comes to finance cost and when it comes to taxes, right? Now coming to the last line item, फिर हम other comprehensive income का मैं एक बारी ऊपर से आपके लिए cover करूंगा. Now coming to last line item, that is the like exceptional items. कि exceptional items क्या होती है, right? Now suppose in balance sheet, you have an asset of 300 crores, but you can't run that asset, or you have to write that asset off. Right? You have to completely write that asset off. So that will be shown as an exceptional item when it comes to the income statement. Another example, suppose if you have trade receivables of 400 crores on balance sheet, and if you have to write off 300 crores, again that will be exceptional item. That will be shown as an example on income statement. Another example, right? Suppose if you have goodwill on balance sheet, आपने acquisition करी and you have a lot of goodwill on balance sheet of 500-600 crores, and you have to write this off. So again, that will be shown as an exceptional item. One more example of exceptional items is basically that of exceptional income. Now, suppose if you have received one-off income by sale of land, or you've done something like you've sold your investments or something. So if you receive one-off income, that is also shown as exceptional income in the income statement. So let's look at a couple of examples, exceptional items. Let's look at a couple of examples. So first, let's go to the example of GNFC. So in GNFC's case, what happened once was that just a minute. So I think because like it will be too long back, so it will be very difficult to open that BSE disclosure. But I'll open Quest Corp first. In Quest Corp's case, the company was acquiring football clubs, the company was acquiring other things, and problem क्या था, non-core business में बहुत acquisitions हो रहा था, इस वजह से goodwill build हो रहा था, right? So because goodwill was being built, then you can see this like in income statement, they had to take an exceptional item, right? Exceptional item is a loss type, right? It's a notional loss of 664 crores over 655 crores. So this is known as an exceptional item. Exceptional item also happens, suppose if you lose a court case. Suppose if you have to pay the court fee, right? Suppose if you lost a court case and you have to pay the fee. So in Lupin's case, these charges keep coming up. In Lupin's case, these charges keep coming up, right? So just look at this, like just look at this. So they have shown it as business compensation expense. Note 4. Business compensation expense of 1,879 crores. What is this linked to? During the quarter ended September 30, 2021, Lupin and its subsidiary agreed to settle the dispute and respect to antitrust class action filed in Northern District of California, USA, in connection with drug, जो भी drug का नाम है, Lumedza, without admitting any liability for any wrongdoing, solely with a view to avoid uncertainties. The company has made a provision towards business compensation expense of 1,879 crores. So this is also one line item of exceptional items that gets shown on the income statement whenever you're taking exceptional items. So इस quarter में इस साल भी है exceptional items. So these are businesses which end up becoming uninvestable in my just in my humble opinion. क्योंकि आपको पता ही नहीं कि क्या होने वाला है. So this is why exceptional items, just be a little careful whenever you're reading the P&L of a company कि कोई ऐसी exceptional item हो which is out of the blue, then you're at least focused on it कि why has it occurred so, right? So just in the chat section, will you invest in a business which just keeps on showing one lawsuit litigation after the other in last 3 years, right? Exceptional items आपका यहाँ income statement पे देखेंगे, provisions are a part of balance sheet. Screener पे I think exceptional items नहीं देखेंगे, so you have to open the quarterly results. Whenever new quarterly results come, whenever you're viewing the quarterly results of a company, then you have to look for exceptional items. Now coming to the last most important concept of the day is segmental profitability. This is the most important concept of the day. Now Siddhant is selling samosas, and in samosas he makes margins of 40%. Just as an example, profit after tax margin of 40%. Siddhant also starts selling bread pakoda and is high margin and it's a very high margin product, and he makes 50% net profit margin in bread pakodas. Now Siddhant starts selling aloo tikki as well, and his margins in aloo tikki are 30%. So out of his rupees 100 of sales, 50 rupees of sale comes from bread pakoda, right? Samosa se 25 rupees ka sale and 25 rupees ka sale from aloo tikki, right? So this is Siddhant's sales breakup. Highest margin product is what? Highest margin product is what? Everyone in the chat section, which is the highest margin product? Highest margin product is the bread pakoda. All right. Now just look at what has happened, right? Now let me ask you a question. What if sales of Aloo Tikki increase? What will happen to Siddhant's overall margins? Aloo Tikki में कितना margin था? 20%. अगर Aloo Tikki की sales if it increases, will the overall margin increase or decrease? Decrease. Awesome. What if sales of bread pakoda increase? What will happen to Siddhant's overall margins? Will the overall margin increase or decrease? Increase. What if sales of samosa increase? What will happen to Siddhant's overall margins? Right? Increase or decrease? Right? Awesome. So what if sales of samosa increase? What will happen to that is decrease, right? So that is what happens. Just give me a second. Right? So I'll take the questions towards the end. So एक बार ये पहले concept पूरा complete कर लेते हैं. So be a little kind in the comment sections, right? So right. So this is the breakup. तो माने कि this is known as product mix. Now suppose if he has one shop and one shop is selling 50% margin bread pakoda and 40% margins are in samosa and like 30% margins are in aloo tikki profit margins. So if sales of bread pakoda increase, so Siddhant's overall margins will increase because it's 50% of his business. But if sales of samosa increase, again Siddhant's overall margin will decrease because it's a lower margin product. And if sales of aloo tikki increase, again his lower margin overall margin profile will decrease because again it's a lower margin product. So this is why segmental profitability assessment becomes very very important. कि आप हर एक segment का profit track कीजिए whenever you're looking at companies which have multiple such segments. So I'll show you examples. We'll discuss examples. So first example हम discuss करते हैं गुजरात अंबुजा एक्सपोर्ट्स लिमिटेड का, right? So in Gujarat Ambuja Exports Limited, if you just look at this interesting thing, so Gujarat Ambuja Exports Limited maize processing division has grown from 401 crores to 2,644 crores in last 10 years. And just look at the like overall profitability and stuff before we go towards that. Whereas the agro processing division is stagnant. It's between 1,400 to 1,700 crores. Cotton yarn division has has also been stagnant from 209 to 243 crores, right? So these two divisions are stagnant, whereas maize division has grown a lot. Apart from this, also look at this. Phenomena. That EBIT of Gujarat Ambuja Exports Limited of different segments. हर एक segment की profitability कितनी है? So cotton yarn is a loss-making segment, right? So let me ask all of you: is cotton yarn a good business or a bad business for Gujarat Ambuja? Is it a good or a bad business? Right? So it's a bad business. Just as an example. They didn't stop cotton yarn division. They are restarting it. They might have stopped production. I attended the AGM actually, so they'll be restarting it. Then agro processing. It's a super volatile business, right? So volatility is a lot in agro processing. So this agro processing and this is same. So volatility you can see. I think this is here. So volatility you can see. So same business, right? Different segments. Mein. So volatility you can see from 71 crores, it has grown to 146 crores in last 10 years. So again, a very volatile business. Whereas maize business is the one which is growing very, very structurally. There might be some volatility as well in some of the years in even the maize business as well. Some of the years there might be some volatility or the business has been stagnant, right? But the maize business has been more or less growing structurally. So this is why assessing segmental profitability and margins ends up becoming very, very important. One more example I'll show it to you over here. So this is Elecon Engineering. Now Elecon Engineering was actually making heavy losses in it has two businesses. One is industrial gears, second is material handling. So in material handling, the company was making very heavy losses. You can see the EBIT margin, -4, -1, -8, -36. But this quarter, the company has turned it around. Yes, industrial gear business continues to chug along, right? It is still doing well. So when the turnaround happened, the stock got re-rated by 70 to 80%. So this is again the importance of looking at segmental analysis and what are the different segments that are present in the business, right? And how can you look at segmental profitability and analysis in income statements of a company? So we'll just simply go to this. And how can you look at segmental profitability and like segmental like PAT of a company? Simply over here. Let me open a Deepak Nitrite. And Deepak Nitrite has two segments. One is advanced intermediates and second is phenolics. So let me open Deepak Nitrite and let me open the results. Just a second. Right. Oh, wait. Right. So companies which have many segments will always give their segmental profitability in a segmental wise, in a segment wise analysis in separately in the income statement, separately in the disclosure of the results. So over here you can look at this. So earnings before interest and taxes. So this is EBIT of different segments, EBIT. This is EBIT of different segments, EBIT. So advanced intermediates, EBIT last quarter was how much? Last quarter was 192 crores. This quarter it has fallen to 132 crores. Last year it was 127 crores. I think last year, hopefully right. Yeah, last year it was 127 crores, right? And this year it has grown to 132 crores. But if you look at phenolics, so phenolics, this quarter it's 188 crores. Last quarter it was 176 crores. Like last year it was 287 crores. So again, year on year it has degrown. So this is segmental analysis. You can look at the ratio segmentally. Which one is more important for Deepak Nitrite? Phenolics or advanced intermediates when it comes to overall profitability of the company? This is yearly. Yearly EBIT in advanced intermediates is 595. And Phenolics is 867. Which one is more important? If you can just answer that. The answer is Phenolics, right? Right. The answer is Phenolics. Right. So I had the stock from like 600 rupees or 800 rupees. So again, because phenol का spreads काफी उस time पे सस्ता था, like काफी कम था, then वहाँ से एकदम disproportionate increase आया. But yeah, this allocation calls, like if you have a very high allocation over there, then you can always like cut allocations when you're seeing headwinds to come. Right. So this is something that is there in EBIT of Deepak Nitrite that you can calculate, and different revenues that you can calculate. Similarly for ITC you can also do the same, right? ITC का भी आप same ऐसे कर सकते हैं कि different जो segmental analysis है वो सारी चीजें कर सकते हैं कि segmental level पे इनका क्या sales है, तो आप screener पे भी देख सकते हैं if you're a member of the paid screener 4-5,000 है, and उसके अलावा then you can also do the PBIT, EBIT of ITC, because in spite of so many years the FMCG business that they have has barely grown to 6% of like margins, right? In spite of growing sales to almost 16,000 crores, still इनकी जो profitability है that is led by which business? तो यहाँ पे you answer the question कि अभी भी ITC की जो major EBIT profitability है it is led by which business? After looking at all the things, which business is leading to the profitability for ITC? Cigarettes, right? Awesome. हाँ, turnaround in paper तो है because paper like cycle has been doing that. Awesome guys. So this is the importance of segmental analysis and how you can do segmental analysis. And segmental analysis में one more thing that you can do is that you can calculate the return on capital employed, return on net worth of each and every division, right? तो दोनों divisions का आप return on net worth you can calculate independently. So this we can do for Gujarat Ambuja Exports, which will be a lot beneficial for you because आपको कुछ नया सीखने को मिलेगा. So this will go to this product segments, and like I think it's not mentioned over here, but just look at the product segments. You can calculate the ROC of each and every product segment. So we'll calculate it for Deepak Nitrite first. Let's do it for Deepak Nitrite. So what's the formula? Simple formula है segmental ROC के लिए, right? वैसे हमारा ROE, ROC, ROA, and apart from that, this working capital days and activity ratios, solvency ratios. Because today we have discussed just the profitability ratios, which was part of income statement. On this, we'll be doing like another like next to next Sunday we'll be doing ROE versus ROA versus ROIC versus ROC पे webinar. That will give you a very good idea about all the ratios. But now let's just calculate the segmental ROC. So what is the segmental assets of Deepak Nitrite and Phenolics? It is 2,180 crores. So 2,180 crores or 2,179 crores. And what are the segmental liabilities? It is 674 crores. So minus 674 crores. So this will give you segmental net worth that the business has invested. कि business ने इस segment में कितना पैसा डाला. So that answer you will get here. तो यहाँ पे कितना आंसर आएगा? So 75 we can take 2105, so 1,505 crores. Right? 1,505 crores is the business is Deepak Nitrite has invested in Phenolics business. This is the amount Deepak has invested in Phenolics business. And what is Deepak Nitrite's EBIT? That is 188 crores. So 188 crores of EBIT. So this I won't write just in denominator. I will have to analyze this because पूरे साल की profitability से मेरे को ROC आएगी. So I just do a simple 188 into 4 क्योंकि एक साल में 4 quarter, right? Because this is the total amount that is invested. So if I simply do 188 into 4, what is the answer that I'll get? Simply the answer that I'll get is 752 crores. So company is making almost 50% segmental ROC on their Phenolics business. Is this good or is this bad? 50% segmental ROC. Is this good or is this bad? It's very good, right? Awesome. बस यहीं पे इसमें एक डर है इस बिजनेस में कि इनकी जो प्राइसिंग इनके हैंड में नहीं है, तो इस टाइम पे Phenolics spreads are going down. So just be a little careful. I think इस वजह से I've been urging caution whenever someone asks. So in Deepak Nitrite, just look at the ROC, right? So just look at the segmental ROC. I think might not be showing. Is it Deepak Nitrite only? Like Deepak Nitrite. So whenever you calculate the segmental ROC, like so over here you'll get the answer. That segmental ROC for Deepak Nitrite will be somewhere close to 50% for the Phenolics business. Will be somewhere close to 50% for the Phenolics business. I think consolidated में, but will be somewhere close to 50% for the Phenolics business, right? All right, over here. Right, so this 64%, this is on the basis of FY22. What we have done is कि हमने Q1 FY23 का calculate करा है, which you'll get an answer of 51%, which we calculated, right? Phenolics business. So this is how we have broken down the income statement into different methods and methodologies. And this was the formula that we just studied. And last question that let me ask you for the day is, which of the following is least liquid? Cash equivalents and inventory. तीनों में से least liquid item कौन सी है कि जिसको आप एकदम liquidate कर सकते हो? The answer is inventory, right? Invested capital and capital employed might be a little different, but like इसके बहुत सारे formulas हैं. So I think we'll do a separate one on this. I think वो 2-hour webinar होगा. So let me ask you in the chat section below. So which webinar do you want to see first? One on like activity solvency ratios, or one on ROE versus ROC versus ROIC? Which one do you want to see first or the second? So we'll do the webinar on ROE versus ROIC versus ROE. That is the webinar that we'll take up. Awesome. Balance sheet we have already done. right? So with this, I think I'll just take some of the questions that you have. And in case if you're looking to become a SYC tribe member, you can use the link SYC bonus 10. That will like also give you like so all the webinars of the past are included in the membership. इसमें balance sheet, forensic analysis, and everything is a part of the membership. And all the future webinars are also part of the membership. जिसमें QSR sector पे we'll be doing a webinar. With this, we'll end the session. I hope you enjoyed the session. And any questions that you have, you can mail them to us at info@syc.in, right? info@syc.in, right? So I'll just. So Ronnie has a good question. As we have seen, if there's inventory loss in Prince 5 and has impacted this quarter profits, and it may also impact the next quarter profits too. Should this have any influence on a new investor at the moment? For example, I was trying to invest in the stock, but since I understand the current situation, should I wait for one more quarter or start investing it? I personally, I'll wait it out because PVC का price बहुत तेजी से गिर रहा है. ये ना तिजोरी फाइनेंस का जो commodity pricing tracker है उसमें आप देख सकते हैं pricing of commodities. Then there is one more link that I posted in SYC Telegram group. I'll just मैं Twitter पे भी post कर दूंगा after the session. But in Screener, what you can do, Screener पे you can just go to export import and you can just like search for data from here. I think polyvinyl chloride, right? So PVC ka, I think the pricing, they like just look at the pricing that has been falling. I think Screener where you can just do the HS code search of the product as well. So while taking entry into a stock, I do look at it. मैं तो personally देखता हूँ, like because I'm into active investing, I want to maximize IRR, so I do look at it. Right? So I think this is for the emulsion grade. This is the other one. But suspension, you have to check which one they're exactly using, suspension grade or the emulsion grade. I think this is the one, suspension grade PVC resin, जिसके pricing अभी गिरनी चालू हुई है, and this is expected to persist for one more quarter. So अब Astral की भी, if you just read the con call, you'll find the similar reasoning कि हमारा जो EBITDA margin है, just look at this EBITDA margin for Astral has fallen, right? And the EBITDA margins of Astral have also fallen, and it is due to similar reason because the like PVC pricing has been falling, and इन्होंने higher inventory price पे लेके रखा हुआ है, right? If you just go read the con call of Astral, then you'll find the similar answer. So I personally prefer to wait it out because most of the B2B businesses में ये problem तो आपको दिखने वाली है. Suppliers of PAP which have come up in India is one is Sadhana Nitrochem, one is this Valiant, and third is this Kutch. 7 suppliers have total come up basically. ID beta button. Other comprehensive income वो basically mark to market उसमें होता है. So suppose if a company has invested in an investment and वो investment अगर 20 crore से बढ़ गई तो आपको other comprehensive income में दिखेगा. Now suppose if the company has forex gains or forex losses, that will be shown in other comprehensive income. So other comprehensive income for investors actually it isn't that valid because those are like mark to market. Those are not real losses or gains that are seen over there. Right? Awesome guys. Cash flow webinar has already been done. So cash flow webinar I think अभी recording वो SYC membership का ही part है cash flow webinar. We took 4 hours to complete the session. I don't know if it was fast. Almost 3 hours. If the session was fast or slow. Right. Was the session speed okay? If it was okay, just drop a okay in the chat section below. So actually, I'll also get feedback lifetime. Awesome. And if you enjoyed it, just drop an awesome. हाँ विपिन, inventory actually that inventory didn't get used. So inventory gain we cannot book in P&L because accounting teaches us कि जो अगर आपका cost of inventory है उससे ऊपर inventory को book नहीं कर सकते. That is what accounting teaches us. That is something that we have to remember. Inventory gain, just remember this funda. Inventory gain is equal to higher sales is equal to lower COGS and is equal to higher profitability. So margins जब out of the blue expand कर जाएंगे B2B business के तो inventory gains की वजह से हो सकता है one reason. Second is inventory losses happen when like inventory losses will lead to lower realization and it will lead to higher COGS क्योंकि cost of material consumed बढ़ जाएगा. So that is these are the two things that you can remember अपने दिमाग में fit करने के इस फंडा को. Because see what happens because business is a running entity. Now suppose ideally in an ideal world everything should have been reflected in changes in inventory whenever there is an inventory loss. But because business is also consuming more and more inventory, तो वो changes in inventory भी fluctuate करते रहते हैं. क्योंकि changes in inventory तो opening और closing के बीच का जो change है वही हमें दिखाना है बस. But क्योंकि opening stock भी बढ़ गया, like business has actually purchased more opening stock throughout the year. So this is why changes in inventory ends up becoming a flawed signal. So we have to look at the overall COGS when it comes to inventory losses. So whenever inventory losses are being reported, we have to look at overall COGS of a company. Right. So there is one Google sheet which I'll send to all of you as well. So this Google sheet is over here. This has the gross profit margins of different companies and how you can sort of look at them. Why gross profit margins actually matter. So यहाँ पे पूरे sector का gross profit margins है. So just give me a moment. All right. I'll just share that gross profit margins sheet with you. Just a second. All right, over here, right? So this is the gross profit EBITDA margin sheet. Then आप पूरे sector में you can compare. This is done for agrochemicals. I've done this for steel sector. Then wires and cables में I've done this. For ER&D I've done this. Footwear I've done this. Right. So I'll just share the like sheet with you in the chat section right away. Awesome. Yeah, I'm invested in Equitas Bank. Perhaps it might be like you over here. So you can check this out. It's a part of my top 3 holdings personally. Awesome guys, thank you so much for the compliments. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them at info@syc.in. Within 24 hours, I'll reply to them because yesterday I had to do a lot of work on this session. I had to simplify it for you all. So awesome. So this is the sheet that you can check. अपने आप comfort पे check कर लेना इसको पूरा. And I'll just end the session like. So thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you learned something new and thank you so much.